triple kill, but Son of Finn, he'll deny the plant. He sees 2 more kills. Oh my god! Son of Finn will find more!
Where's Miracle? He's trying to come upstairs, but Crafty will get the ace. He'll get the plant. He'll do it all.
Device misses shots. He's gonna have to go for the first.
Oh,
he pushes
Dylan!
on through. Dylan is better.
Round 2, and there's another as Tyrant is finished off, and they all line up for Bone.
Damn.
Hello everybody, and today I start my brand new job at SCS Sofa Stores. Now, well, this isn't actually the sofa store in Sunderland, UK, which I thought it was, so that must mean that I'm with the best, very best in T3 NA Siege, and joining me today is going to be Lynx. How are you doing today?
You know, I'd be doing better if Ferme didn't cut to the cameras while I was vibing to the intro music, but, you know, I guess I don't deserve happiness in my life anymore. Other than that, I'm doing great, though. I'm doing as good as I can be given the circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, the intro music, it just bangs. You can't deny that, but we have got a great game coming up. Just having just watched, I believe it was, let me double check before I get this wrong at all. After having watched PDHM going up against Team Vale, very, very good game coming out. Unfortunate about the disconnect, but, well, what can you do realistically? Today, though, we are going to be watching Synthetic going up against Honor Esports. Now, this is one with a very clear underdog story if one particular team will win, and there's a very clear favorite to win, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. Even without the current circumstance, Synthetic are not exactly the likeliest of contenders, but as very recent events, they are looking for 2 players, so Bladder and CZ will be subbing in for the normal roster, joining Poison, Na, and Rice. Now, on the lower side of things, on the bad side of things, they are playing with 2 subs, and that can affect any team's potential performance. But on the upside, it's Vladar and CZ, who are two very talented players in their own right. So of all the people you could ask to sub in, not exactly the worst thing on the planet. In fact, I would say, depending on how they play and they manage to utilize their individual skill, their chances might not shift all that much, but the hit in the communication department or the hit in the chemistry department will certainly be a factor going into this.
Yeah, having teams that have been able to play together for quite a while really does show that just that little bit of cohesion. They just know what to do when things start to go wrong. And well, when you look at the rating, I think we can see Honor, they're very comfortable when things do start to go wrong. That Challenger League roster coming into SCS really strong, currently top of the group. And well, I think the stats say for themselves. They're currently rated at 1.09. And their KOS is on average a whole 12% higher than Synthetic. So you look at the stats, and well, immediately you have to say, okay, well, they're going to be the favorites. You have to look at this team and say they have the experience, they have those players that aren't brand new jumping into the roster, so there's a lot of potential there for Honor to really take that advantage. But on the flip side, Synthetic, they've got a really, really good narrative, a huge redemption arc to take place at the moment. As you can see, they only have 1 point at the moment, but if they were to bring a win onto the board, well, then that can push them up into the much higher into the group as we do look to move forward with the group stages. Now, the stats here, I think it tells a lot about the teams we're expecting to see and the plays we're expecting to see. Very, very high stats for the players that are on the board right now. When you take a look at that attacking cost, when you take a look at the frag, the trades, realistically, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing Honor come up multiple times.
Yeah, especially after last week Honor's win against PDHM, which was fairly dominant, and that could be PDHM not exactly being as strong as we thought. I mean, we saw them almost lose a 5v4 at certain points during the match that just happened previously, but Honor is undeniably a very strong team, not just in SCS, but the North American Siege community as a whole. So given this circumstance and given the ratings, as you mentioned, the stats, more often than not don't lie, but then again, we haven't had exactly the highest amount of games so far. It's still early on in the season, but if you're leaning towards Honor, I think you're very justified in that mindset, both in theory and likely what we're going to see in practice. But of course, doesn't all that matter if you don't know where we're going. So the two maps we're going to be playing today are going to be Consulate and Clubhouse. So bit of a map that isn't seen all too often, still seen fairly frequently, but then we have Clubhouse, which is seen pretty much borderline every series and played tonight as well. So maybe that'll change things more in your favor. Obviously, you can see most of us think Honor's going to win, and probably if we redid these predictions with the Vladar and CZ subbing in, I imagine those numbers down below won't change or would not change all that much.
Yeah, you look at it and you see these teams, well, Honor, they have the experience, like I said. They've got a myriad of things supporting them, but I really think Synthetic, like you said, they haven't played many games. And, well, you can't really count down CZ and Vladar. These are the new players coming in. They haven't actually performed with this roster so far in SCS, so you can expect something big from them. If there is something to change and really lend them an advantage, this is going to be it. Maybe they played with these players before, maybe they've trialed or whatever. That has a lot of potential, but looking at the bans and looking at who picks what, that's what's going to tell me a lot. Now, Honor being the team that they are with that experience, with that high pedigree of class, well, I'm not surprised to see them go to Consulate, a map that doesn't require a lot out of the strat bag. You say, okay, here's the default strats, let's run for the mechanics, we find opening kills, we lead them on a wild goose chase, and there's nothing really that we need to dig deep for, whereas Clubhouse, well, it's a map that a lot of people know, isn't it? When you go to that Clubhouse, if you don't know how to play it, well, you're doing something wrong. So on a very comfortable position right now, they don't have to give away too much too early into SCS.
Yeah, and going back to Consulate, as you said, a map that doesn't require the same kind of structured play you would see from other maps. Synthetic, given their current situation, that is going to be their best chance to try and come away with at least 1 point from this. Playing on a map where you don't need as much structure, with players like Vladar and CZ, who are definitely on the more aggressive side of players in North American T3, that's going to be your best bet, whether you end up just taking it to overtime or by some stroke of luck winning the map outright. It is Honor's map pick as well, so while there are some points in the column of Synthetic, Honor's map pick, at least in theory, dictates that they should be more practiced on this map, and I'll try to minimize those factors that Synthetic might bring out. So overall, either way, I mean, McCready, you might disagree with me, but I still think Honor's going to win this out. I don't know, probably 2-0. Maybe we'll see an OT if Synthetic can manage, but I imagine it's not going to be all too close.
Yeah, it's not looking great at the moment for Synthetic going into this. But on the bright side, well, even if you do get 2-0'd, well, you get that harder game out the way very early on. You can move forward, you can say, right, it's only up from here. But you've got to get through that first game. Consulate, that's a map where Honor are really going to try and catch you off guard. They picked it. They decided that they are going to be taking you right there. And yes, Synthetic, they will start on that attack. They will be able to really try and get off the gates very quickly. Well, Consulate, it's a map where a lot of teams will kind of say, well, it's ranked. And Honor, if they rely on those mechanics and the stats, they show that they can perform quite well with it. Well, Synthetic, it's not looking great. Getting us into the ban phase, though, what Honor decide to do really says a lot to me. If we see a Thatcher Maverick and then a Cade being taken away in this ban phase, well, I think Honor, they're taking it a lot more seriously than one might expect them to, at least myself. But a Nomad will be taken off the board, and, well, that makes sense as well. Honor really not wanting to deal with that flank watch and just saying, well, if we want to run around a corner, well, we're going to. If you bring a gridlock, yeah, sure, that's great, but, well, you don't have that, when a lot of noise is going on in the game, you don't have that audible, there is somebody there. The Jackal will be taken off the board as well from Synthetic, and I think, well, we're going to see a typically ranked playstyle coming through.
Yeah, Synthetic, whether or not they play that ranked playstyle, they have shown to favor a bit more aggressiveness on the roam. You know, poison, roaming, smoke, always a classic in people's minds. It won't beat that nail too hard, but they like roaming. Getting Jackal off the board totally makes sense. Banning Mira as well, very strong operator on a lot of maps, can single-handedly change sites like basement in the more strongly the favor of the defense, so all this makes sense. Nomad as well being early on, that's a standard ban for Consulate. Going for the final one, wouldn't be surprised if we see a Valkyrie, and yep, there it is. Nomad and Valkyrie, two bans that are common, especially on Consulate and Coastline, and this being one of those two maps, not at all surprised we're seeing those two come out. It's always one of those bans where somebody's got to ban them, so whether it was Honor or Synthetic, neither of them were going to get played. Just so happened that it fell on the side of Honor. Now the question is, what's the first site we're going to be seeing? And it is Basement. Fairly standard lineup being seen so far, and even Honor making use of that Jackal ban being taken off the board. Mute and Amazi, though suddenly changed to a Jaeger. Probably be seeing, even though we might not see a more traditional extension as you might see with a Mute or Amazi, the existence of a Jaeger likely indicate we're going to be seeing some sort of aggressive play, and he switches back, so we will be seeing some sort of extension coming out from Surf and Wolfseas.
Well, when I see that Jaeger, well, they had the Jaeger on the board, yeah, but the 6-pick, the Mozzie was always there. That Mute Mozzie is just saying that denial. That's the name of the game that you were leaning into. You were saying, right, they're going to try and just prevent Synthetic from getting as much information as possible. In doing so, in that late round, it just snowballs. They don't know where these people are going to be. You don't have the drones in that crucial last 40 seconds or so when you need to know where these players are when you go for execute. So, in doing so, Honor, they're saying, right, we're just going to make you suffer. We get a C4 on the board as well. We've got 3 that can be brought, as well as Pox with the impact nades and the Alder. That combined with Oriomeister's smoke kind of says, well, as you see, there's a lot of top floor setup. Well, I just imagine that this roam game is going to be one where Honor, they don't want Synthetic to get to the bottom floor. That's going to be the name of the game, where they just slow everything down. They have the smoke in bathroom. They're making Synthetic work for everything they get, and that's a key thing as a defender. If you are able to at least sacrifice time for map control, well, then you've excelled your job realistically, especially as a roamer. With the extensions like you were talking about, if you can slow them down from getting that piano control, that breach doesn't get open. Without the breach getting open, well, Synthetic, they can't push through, go for a plant, and get a couple of kills. So in doing so, Honor, they just need to waste time.
Well, Synthetic will most certainly not waste any time at all, opening up the breach. Only 30 seconds into the match, but results in an early kill onto Poison. Pox going unread on the left side of that white van as Maestro playing an aggressive position. You might not normally associate with that operator when you get some pretty good bang for his buck, taking out the hard breach. You're sure his job has already been done, but that's an early 4v5 that Synthetic will have to rotate most of their push around just due to the lack of man count, despite his utility already going to good use. CZ and Rice, for the moment, seem undaunted on their push on the eastern side of the map, moving on this second floor, already getting some holes on the floor to try and deny any potential flanks. One of the flankers would be Surf on the Mozzie, going up spiral stairs. There's a fair bit of attackers all lined up, likely waiting for his position. A drone even marked warning Surf for any potential info that might go his way. He's not shooting it, going to try and take them off guard. It's a bit of a risky play. He'll go for the swing, finds one more. An early 3v5, haven't even reached a minute 30 seconds. If you're Honor, you're patting yourself on the back right now.
Oh yeah, you're finding those 2 kills on the board, half the round ticking down now. Yes, Aereo is taking some damage, but realistically, like you said, you've done a lot of work there in stopping Synthetic. They haven't been able to get that map control and the vertical play when they want to. Now, the breach is open, that wall is there, but they don't have the support above. They have to deal with Wolfies, who is going to find one, looks for a second, but just isn't going to get it just yet. With the yellow pin coming out, well, you just have to sit pretty right there. Vlad is worrying about what to do. because you're now pushing alone. You don't have any advantage realistically. Nas playing alone. On those yellow says, we'll take some damage and just pulls back. And, well, Ario just plays time. There's nothing else to really do. You have 5 players left in the defense, and while things aren't looking great with this, let's be honest, shaky start coming out for Synthetic. Time will be ticking down, and Vlada and Na will be able to get together. But how much can they accomplish? This bathroom player is still there, and you can still see Oreo waiting with that SMG. Looks for the first kill, though, can't find it, and suddenly Vlada has that breach. Arrow will go down, and 30 seconds left. Things are looking a lot better. Synthetic just can't find that final kill.
Ash charge, no less, and despite the movement more towards equilibrium and man count, Na and Vlad are losing in the health department, both on 25 HP. Not much they can do, even with the open breach in the bathroom room dealt with. Breach smoke canisters in the hand of Oreo, the first of which will be expended. Their best hope is to try and go for as many kills as they can. Vladder's got 3 so far. Managed to potentially get an opening for Na, but no, Oreo's there with a double kill in the final 5 seconds. That was a good attempt by the Ash, I will say, equalizing in the final 5 seconds, but at the end of the day, the damage that was done by Honor early on in the round was not enough to overcome for the attacking team. Again, even with all the advantages they seemed like they were setting up for in the first 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, it looked like the name of the game for Synthetic was they want that top floor control, they move it down, a very structured push coming through, and you can't really blame them, because that's the way you want to play it on attack. You don't want to let the defenders start to run away with things. But that's exactly what we saw. The breach came through, that first kill coming out for, I believe it was Pox on the Maestro. Well, that just made life even harder, because you're immediately at that disadvantage. The attackers, they got the breach, but they don't have that person playing it. In that case, Nah has to rotate around, hold these angles, make sure nobody gets a bit too aggressive, nobody just rotates out of garage, you apply that pressure still, and you're ready for the push. In doing so, that means you're in a 3 versus 5 when it comes to that roam clear, and well, Honor, they just weren't missing the gunfights. They were catching players off guard. The shotguns were just coming through and doing absolute bits on the attackers. A great effort from Synthetic to bring it back, but it just wasn't meant to be. Now, looking towards this Archive Teller's site, we're seeing a very standard setup. The Oryx is quite interesting to me. I do absolutely love that Jordanian coming out. However, I'm thinking it's just Honor saying, we want to catch them off guard. And immediately that's telling me that they're feeling comfortable. They're saying, yeah, we don't need operators necessarily like a mirror to come along. Maybe because it's banned, maybe because they don't feel they need it. You can commit that player to the roam game. And for Surf, it's going to be a case of, well, just sitting in a corner waiting, hoping you don't get droned out, or at least you get a kill or 2 if you are.
Adaptation, Synthetic is made. Switching poison from the Thermite to the Hibana, I mean, that makes sense. About the only site Thermite is truly useful on is that basement site. You can use him elsewhere, but better said, switching poison to the Hibana, who is much more versatile, not only before that patch, but especially more so after that. If CZ ends up getting taken out, those Hibana charges could serve as a surrogate for those castle barricades. Then again, if you've reached that point, things might be going wrong. With a split site, though, hard breaching isn't exactly the name of the game. What it is clearing out any potential roamers in and around the map. Right now, that spot is taken up by Arrow, one of the 3 C4s, a piece of secondary utility that is key for how this site could pan out for the defense. And he appears to be roaming with some utility support up top, but don't exactly know at the moment how many men are dedicated with them. There is Surf hiding in tuck inside a cabinet, so good to see on him supporting his teammate, a different sort of fashion. In this roam game, combined with the pulse down below, those are definitely going to be the 2 biggest factors for this defense's potential success. How well they can waste time and potentially get a cheeky kill or 2, just like they did in the round prior, and how Oreo can be utilized with the pulse down below. Surf getting the opening kill onto CZ means you might be seeing a repetition of history if they play their cards right.
Yeah, the biggest problem right now for Synthetic is they don't have that sledge on the board. They have to commit the utility on other operators that you just don't want to have. With those castle barricades, it gives a lot of free movement to Honor. They just say, alright, we're going to start pushing, we're going to move around, you can't do anything to stop it. Synthetic, they have to clear 3 floors realistically and know where these players are. And Poison's going to give it a good go, but just can't land those shots onto Aereo. He's just going to play it quite safe. You don't have to move. You don't have to peek. Yet again, that player advantage is there. And Oreo, constantly feeding information. Well, they know if the push is coming through. They've got 3 C4s on the board. They can just wait and hold position. But Oreo is going to try and get that C4 ready. It will do some damage, but not enough to land that kill to just get that extra player advantage for Honor. Vlad will play on those Visa stairs and will push down. And at least with 1 C4 off the board, Honor can say, well, we still got two. We still have two players up on this top floor, most importantly. The plant is starting to go down, but Surf is going to start moving forward. Vlad will find 2 kills, but Pox has an answer of their own. The plant is starting to go down, and Surf on this flank doesn't see exactly where. Will finally find Poison, though, and stop that flank going down. And with 35 seconds left, Nah and Vlad yet again, they're trying to make something happen. Aerial will be able to find a kill onto 1 as Nah finds Pox, but yet again, it's a 2 versus 1. The plant hasn't gone down, that diffuser is in sight.
Not exactly aware of the remaining position of the defenders, and he won't be able to find much intel beyond that. Surf lands that headshot through the wall, and came a bit close to the end, again, due to the efforts from Vlad around that Ash, but overall, it seemed fairly in the hands of Honor through and through. Poison managed to get to the side, what seemed, at least for a couple moments, to be under the nose of the defense, but with Surf going through that flank downstairs, and seemingly intel down below as well, it wasn't nearly as easy of a plant as Synthetic might have been hoping it was. Looked a bit scary when Surf didn't exactly see Poison to begin with, but the moment he found that shot and there was nobody on the attacking team that was truly in a position to immediately capitalize off of it, that was a defensive win unless they managed to mess things up. And there was some attacking presence down below as well that caused enough chaos where if they were in the proper positions, could have exploited Surf being relatively alone in that bomb site. But overall, Honor's setups were just too rock solid, and the defense were still alive in too many positions that Synthetic couldn't really find a breakage in the armor that was enough to get the maneuvering room they needed. And as a result, again, even though it came close to the wire, it was still strongly in Honor's favor for the majority of that round. Moving up to top floor, this will likely be the hardest they will have to fight for a defensive win, just by the nature of this site, how strong it favors repels, and how strongly it favors the attack overall. With Pox in that clash and Error on that castle, it might just cause enough headache for Synthetic that it could give them their third defensive win.
Yeah, the way that I'm seeing Honor's setup playing in, when I see all this hard breach, I'm seeing this castle being brought to mute the clash. Realistically, they're just saying, okay, Synthetic, you're going to try something. You're either going to go for that CEO or go for that admin take. Either way, we'll be prepared. And that's because we have all this utility denial, we have the hard breach, we have the castle barricades, that easy rotation between the two positions to go alongside that clash. Well, it gives us enough time to rotate. While you're dealing with all of that, we can just say, they're doing this, let's rotate maybe, I don't know, Oreo around here, hold this angle. You set up your defense with the time that you've bought as and we're just shutting down the attackers, and Vlad will be on the rappel right now. Wolfseas will be going down. The first time we'll see Poison being able to find that opening frag for Synthetic. That's something else I wanted to touch upon as well. Both rounds we saw Honor picking up that first kill, and Synthetic are fighting to get this player count even each time. They have not had that player advantage once so far in the season, and I'm very interested to see how they build upon it. But they do have these players on rappel, like you did mention, Lynx, and I'm quite interested to see how Surf is going to deal with this at least. Because you can pull back, but how soon do you? How much pressure is going to be applied before you say, okay, I'm going to pull back, let's get Fox over here and let's deal with it. But Surf is going to look for that first kill, won't be able to find it, will be knocked down by Rice. And suddenly, we're seeing Synthetic starting to snowball.
He'll take a fair bit of damage, but he tries to counter the momentum being gained by Synthetic, finding the headshot onto Nah, who has been having the best half so far. Still time for him to pick it up. But in terms of some of the more impactful defenders still alive, you have Pox on that clash. But now you've lost the man count of Arrow, being taken down by Vladder at the C4. Oreo still raining chaos down below. He's got a double kill, the only 2 kills for his team so far. But Vladder's definitely been the standout performer this match. Almost lands the shot onto Oreos, but he gets the triple, and he has to find 2 more. The ace clutch in order to win Honor their 3rd defensive round in a row. Only 35 HP with just a hair's breadth of intel. Rips the C4, but he's just baiting it out. He wants to try and cause uncertainty via minds the attackers. Can he land it? Yes, he will! It's a quad and blows Poison sky high. Now he has to wait. He knows where Rice is. The tracers have pointed him out, but he doesn't land the shots in time. Fortunately, Peeker's advantage going a bit the favor of Rice on that engagement. And it picks up Synthetic their very first round, but in all fairness, it's on a site where they probably should have anyway.
Yeah, that round, as an attacker, you need to win. You're seeing Honor, they've gone to those first 2 sites, the ones they're comfortable on, and the top floor site, well, a lot of attacker teams know how to deal with it from that 20-second meta. And, well, they've played it a lot, they're most rehearsed on that, taking away the 20-second meta with the recent changes that came through in that Neon Dawn update, well, suddenly it shifts over to that attacker-sided very, very much. There's a lot less utility to clear, a lot of ways the defenders just can't slow them down again, which is something I feel Honor tried to do, and Synthetic countered very nicely. They had the players in these key positions to set up the crossfires. As soon as you saw, I believe it was Wolfseeds playing in that break room area, you had the push coming through from Attic, ready to put the pressure on behind. You had a player crouch walking in, one on the window. Suddenly you're seeing a lot of refrag potential for Synthetic, and almost none for Honor. Just being able to win out the gunfight, then like I said, it snowballed. Wolfsy's being taken away at the very start of that last round. Well, that was just key as well, and so we will see Honor return to the bottom floor, and I don't blame them. This is a floor that they were able to get a lot of that early advantage. They found the first couple of kills. They had a lot of map control until, well, realistically, the very end of the round. And even then, it was still a huge effort for Synthetic to try and bring it back. They've got that top floor roam coming out yet again, and Synthetic, the question is, how are they going to deal with this? Because you see these players on the top floor, and that says you have to clear it out. You can't just leave them there. Otherwise, we see what happened on Archive Tellers, when they just come behind you and shoot you from up above. So Synthetic, I want to see some adaptation. The question is, how do they adapt? Do they just say, right, we'll go main lobby, take control of bathroom and push through, have that flank watch ready, but you don't have a gridlock. So they'll bring the Thatcher to try and get this wall open even earlier.
This was Poison's same strategy last time, and now it appears they have a bit more coverage to ensure that he's not going to get taken out early on, even though Pox is playing that standard position. And there you go, he gets taken out because of the operator that they dedicated to the coverage of Poison. Now that Honor, the shoe's on the other foot, they've lost the Maestro, an equally impactful operator who, say what you will about Poison dying early on, he did his job by opening up the breach. Those two Maestro cams will now be stationary and can't shoot lasers for the remainder of the round. In terms of trades, going across the different rounds, I think Honor might be on the loser, or probably are in the losing side of that engagement or of that trade. The Synthetic have the wall open. They have much more ability to maneuver and set up for an execute, but as you said, now the question is whether or not they can take out that roam. One of the biggest issues they had was clearing out Oreos or Wolfseys inside a bathroom. But they may not even have to clear it out because of how quickly they were just moving on in. Vladder picked up one, Nah finds his second with the headshot on the Arrow. And before you can even say, or before you can even realize, 3 members of Honor have been taken off the board. A 4th soon after, thanks to Vladder getting his second as well alongside Nah. And a 3rd, his second triple, or I can't even count how many at this point. And on basement of all sites, a flawless round to answer back going into the second half of this first half. So I guess second quarter, if you suppose. Synthetic, it's not looking all too bad for them. But you can probably thank Vladder for that one.
Yeah, Vladder really stepping up and being one of the huge driving forces for Synthetic so far. We're able to find a number of kills, even in the rounds that they were losing. But realistically, the momentum in that last round, that was it. Vladder was alive for a very long time, was able to find just a couple of opening kills. Now, Pox being taken off the board, like you said, that was huge. Honor, instead, you've got to commit bodies to actually watch that breach. You have to actually have people in the line of fire rather than using the Maestro cameras. Well, at that point, you just say, well, if you're attacking, we have Thatchers. We can clear them out as well. They don't really seem to be utilizing their utility in a way that is prepared for just a breach push. Now, we did see Nah on those yellow stairs really just ramping up the aggression, and in doing so, was able to distract Honor that little bit more. They've already lost 2 players. And by putting that 3rd player onto that yellow stairs, having players pushing into the breach, well, it just makes life that little bit harder. Too many guns, or too many angles to watch, and not enough guns, actually. They will be returning to the bottom floor, and Honor now, we asked about how Synthetic we're going to adapt, but how are Honor? Are they going to be calling in those roamers a lot earlier, as soon as they feel a little bit of pressure from the breach? Or are they going to say, right, we'll hold true, we'll wait up here just in case? But with the positioning of Synthetics, Thatcher and Thermite of Nah Poison, well, you have to think, well, they'll go for breach. They'll go for that roam clear again because they can. They've got that even now. If they find another round, well, realistically, they're just doing great. They're in a really good position going to the bottom floor, and maybe Aereo is reading into that a little bit. And what we're looking for, this small peak, will not be able to land that kill. Instead, Rice finding the opening frag, and, well, this just isn't looking good. Every round, the team that gets the opening kill win that round. Synthetic, can they keep this trend alive?
Certainly, Pox dying early on was one of the big issues, and even though you're losing Arrow, who didn't exactly die from Breach being open, still losing him early on, we could see a similar trend come through. Well, 40 seconds in, breach open, you have the man advantage. What came next for Synthetic was both Vladder and Na being able to work picks on the angle outside of breach and on yellow stairs respectively, with Na making that entry in. They go for that same strategy. It might be a bit risky with the fact that Pox is still alive and can gather intel for his team much more actively than he coulda, or much more actively than he did last time, because he was dead and those Maestro camps could no longer move. You might find Synthetic now feel required, or might feel it imperative for them to actually try and clear out that bathroom room. But with CZ tossing on these frag grenades, we might see them continue to focus on breach. Maestro camp behind White Van taken out. That's one of the key parts of a defense on base that you have to remove for how much intel you can gather from it. There is still one more, but with how quickly and adeptly they are dealing with these Maestro cams, I'm a bit worried for Honor on how their on-site pressure might fare. But the longer Wolfseas and the rest of the roamers survive off-site, and the more potential they have to go for a flank later, it's certainly not out of the question that they can come back from this.
Yeah, now Synthetic, they are aware of this issue with these roamers, because they've said, well, we've droned it out. We're not seeing all the players that should be there from Honor. Maybe they're on the roam, and in doing so, you need to divert those players. With that player advantage, well, you have that opportunity to do so, and Wolfseas will be coming down the Visa stairs. Does Vladder know? No. Does not know. Well,
okay.
He does now. He will take up some damage, but won't be killed. Suddenly, Vladder's looking at it saying, oh, I need to help out. But Box is there with an answer. We'll find one kill onto Vladder. Looks to the breach for more, but it's Oreo who'll find one. Make that two. And with the diffuser going down 40 seconds, Rice and Na, they're stuck in a horrible position. A third kill for Oreo. Na trying to get something going towards his pipes. Finds one, looks for the second. Just can't land the kill of the Box. 30 seconds are ticking down, and Na has a lot of angles and the flank of Wolfseas to worry about. Has to push through. You don't have time for a rotate, but that's exactly what Na's going to try to do. Go over towards this Visa hatch, I do believe, and will be walking into the line of sight of Wolfseas. Trying to land a shot, just won't land it yet. Will take some damage going either way, but time is being wasted. Wolfseas, you're doing the right thing. You're staying alive by dropping a hatch, and the shotgun, well, it just closes things out.
Wolfseas has been a bit hit or miss, no pun intended, with the SMG-11 in this matchup, and that potato from round one kind of exemplifying that. But Oreos, I'll be damned if he's missed a single shot with that gun over the course of this half. I mean, 9 and 3 so far, exclusively playing those sorts of operators, at least for the most part. Triple that round with the SMG-11, almost single-handedly denying the entry into the bomb site through the garage breach. He's definitely been one of the MVPs on Honor so far, especially when it comes to playing his role as an anchor, even in some situations as a roamer, depending on how he decides to play that SAS operator. The arrows failed spawn peek there, but I'm sure in just a second you could see Oreo get a couple nice kills. There you go. 3 of them, 1 with the smoke grenade and 2 with the SMG-11. On the other side of Synthetic, your power performer has been Vladder. And you know, you've had some impact from Na on the coverage in 2 rounds ago, but it's for the most part Vladder been the one making the entry for his team. He tried to go for a back flank that go around, and he was swiftly dealt with because of how much more intel Honor had on his position than Synthetic had on theirs. When Vladder's not able to find his positioning or aid his teammates in gaining that entry, Synthetic struggle to find their place and find their strategy on their attacking half so far. And last round just goes to show that fact entirely. Thankfully for them, it's only one round left, but if you're struggling on Consulate attack, I'm afraid how it's going to be when you turn to Consulate defense.
Yeah, and then moving on from that, Clubhouse, which is a map that, whether it's attack or defense, you cannot skimp on the strats, you cannot skimp on the mentality of going onto a map like Consulate and just not being able to perform. Now, Vladder, you have to give a lot of credit, is performing incredibly, but in terms of frags, the rest of Synthetic, they're just not keeping pace. You're seeing Na on 4 and Rice on 3, but that's realistically it. At that point, you have to start thinking how much of this is the Vladder show purely because of that muscle memory. And this map not really having that complex strats. And as I described there, KD, Vladder is just going to drive home my point and start clearing out this bathroom very quickly on this Archive Teller's site. The biggest thing that I said Synthetic need to do is they need to get that those 3 floors controlled. They don't have a nomad to shut down the staircase, so they need to have the flank watch. And that's something I don't think Synthetic have had so far. They brought out Jackals to deal with roamers. They brought out drones. They brought out a gridlock once or twice, I do believe. But it's just not had that effect. On the flip side, Honor, they yet again bringing this pulse. Not is chasing this kill, he wants it, he's hungry, but it's CZ being followed. And with CZ running away, well, it just doesn't make life great. And CZ will be taken down by Wolfsies thanks to the ping. Pox and CZ now have been taken down, that 4v4 on the board, and well, all the cards are firmly in Honor's favor. They're getting the information, the hatch is being opened, granted, but nah, you're still taking too long to kill this player. Rice, though, will find Surf and looks for the rest of this roam clear, as Poison will start this plank going down. Rice gives away his position, trying to shoot that default cam, and Aristotle decides to strike, is unable to get the kill, and now 4 versus 2, Synthetic want that 3-3 split.
Thankfully, they've managed to deny the plant for the moment, but now it seems almost like an inevitable conclusion. Wolfsies will have to try in his best with the SCS operator. He's doing fairly well so far. Got a double, but now with the plant going down and time most certainly not on his side, and the guns he have equipped for this engagement also not on his side as well, it's not looking the best for his chances, especially with the vertical control also established by Honor or by Synthetic over the course of this round. This is probably going to end in a 3-3 split. C4 will go wide, not find purchase on any of the attackers. And he just manages to find one, but the range is just not on his side with the SMG-11 and that kind of engagement. And Rice and Zofia much more equipped to handle that sort of gunfight. And thankfully for Synthetic, it ends in a 3-3 split. That's about as good as you can get on Consulate, or at the very least, that's the bare minimum of what you should be getting on Consulate. So going into their defense, they now really have to try and show whether or not they can make, or whether or not they can mount a comeback of sorts. But with the side of the defense and how aggressive I have a feeling Synthetic are going to be, these first couple rounds are going to indicate, or I think especially going to indicate whether or not they struggle. If they win these first two fairly handedly, I think there's a chance that this, honestly, Synthetic could probably sneak a comeback before any of us even realize.
I think there's a lot riding on that, realistically. You need to see Vlada being able to pick up a couple more kills, granted, but the rest of Synthetic, they listened to me. They were able to find quite a few more kills. That roam clear was a lot better. They played off of each other a lot nicer when it came to that post plant as well. But if they try and get a bit aggressive, well, I'm seeing Honor on the lineup. I'm seeing a Thatcher Thermite. That wall's getting opened up very, very quickly, regardless of what utility you put against it, which is why Synthetic, they're not really trying. They've got a Malusi. That's about as much as it gets. But the way I see Synthetic playing this is if they play it that little bit safer, if they play their positioning on the roam game that little bit safer, they're not trying to go through all these gunfights, that's where they might be able to catch Honor off guard. Granted, though, if Honor, they're droning it out, they're playing a very, very tight roam clear, it might not matter regardless. I'm very excited to see how this split goes, but I can't decide who's going to win it. We've seen the 3-3 split on the first half, but Synthetic, they're on the defense. They're the ones going to be put into the back of the corner, and Honor, well, they're just going to be able to pick apart the defenders if they so please. The shots will start us off, opening up that admin. Honor not taking any chances realistically, and let's be honest, can you really blame them? Everyone's died to a spawn-free peek from admin, and I'm not surprised that they don't want to, but Synthetic, those roamers aren't going to be dissuaded. They are going to stay on there, and they are going to try and distract Honor that much, who do actually seem to be opting for that complete roam clear, instead of just trying to get that wall open, which is a very different approach to what we saw from Synthetic, who just said, right, we get the wall open, we might do a roam clear, but we're going to win our gunfights.
Already a rotation coming out from Nah. Understandable. There's still a couple remaining defenders, and two specifically, both the Jaeger and the Mozzie respectively. So Honor have looked fairly quick on this roam clear up top so far. At least they set themselves up in a position to be. But they're going to meet some pretty heavy resistance incoming just a bit shortly. The first call from Oreo will go out, hopefully signifying to either Wolfsies or Oreo himself that there are members of the defense in close proximity to them. Rice is also down below, waiting to support his teammates up top if need be. It might not be all that necessary. CZ finds one, almost finds two on the pre-fire. Just the shots in that last word engagement didn't exactly go his way. Wolfsies with the slow push up long desk, waiting to see if somebody rotates to that yellow door. Unfortunately, nobody moves into his sight. Ladder is there, though. Fortunately, unaware to Wolfsies, who is now rotated back into Visa, manages to find Rice on the flank. So rotation, that ends up going to favor the attack and evening it 4-4.
Yes, but Vlada is very quick to act upon that. Will find a kill onto Aristotle. Looks for another one and will down Wolfsies. This is where Synthetic, they will find a refrag, but they're playing the catch-up game. They're trying to find kill after kill, and right now, Well, then on the great disposition, we're seeing them in A2 versus 3, where we saw the first round of the first split go towards before. They're trying to get that information with those cams of the Dokkaebi, but time is ticking down. Do you really have the opportunity to position yourselves in the right way? Realistically, I see a yellow push being on the cards, but you have to have that flank watch. You have to be prepared for Na. You have to be prepared for CZ. These are players that, well, just have been playing it very aggressively, and I'm going to admit when I'm wrong. Realistically, you said if we see Synthetic getting aggressive, we could possibly see a comeback and put some more rounds on the board. I think that's what we're going to see. CZ is able to find another kill, driving us closer towards that, and looks for the final one on 2 pucks. But it is Na who will be closing things out, and Synthetic will be, for the first time, in the driver's seat.
You can thank in large part that roaming setup for a lot of their success. Taking out a member of the attack early on, falling back at exactly the timetable you've set for yourselves with Honor, not really in too much of a position to answer back, save for a couple examples. And then later on, when you get to that lower man counter, they have no choice but to push the site. Since the roamers haven't been cleared out, you have Na on the Vigil, able to come back down yellow stairs, watch that angle where Pox has no hope of countering it from, and it's done and dusted at that point. That's an easy round win for you, an easy one to clean up. Now going to lobby press room, this is another site that really favors that sort of extension. Vladder going into Capcan should probably indicate that in your mind. If they can continue to have success on this extension, as in large part, a lot of the sites on Consulate really do favor that style of play, I really do think this could be a map win for Synthetic, depending on how this, depending on how this goes. I'm willing to stake my claim on that, even though I predicted Honor to win in the initial phase going into this match. But now with the context, how aggressively Synthetic have been playing, they can continue on with that momentum. I'm gaining confidence. We can leave it at that.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Looking at that on paper, which we have discussed quite in depth, let's be honest, Honor have looked a stronger team, but in practice, Synthetic, these new pickups coming out of Vladder and CZ, well, it seems to be working. Vladder in a very obvious way, CZ maybe not so much, taking that role more towards that vertical entry, getting that soft destruction done. That's a job that you just can't have to any random pickup, because it's where you open up, where you play, how you position the site to help your team, and, well, with the Aruni, you'll be able to take that as well. This is the first time I've actually seen Aruni in comp play. I'm quite excited to see how it happens, very much in the way of that utility denial, but honestly, I don't think it's going to have much impact in the way that teams play, because if they're good, they will win by whatever means necessary. Vladder bring in the Capcan, probably reading into this room clear by Honor and saying, well, if you're going to try and clear us out, we're going to goddamn no. You either have to shoot or interact with those traps. Either way, Synthetic, they're going to have a pretty good idea when you're coming. But Honor, they've decided they're going to get these wall windows open. They're going to start getting this information as best as they can. They see the PP on the wall, and, well, I'm not exactly sure what to think about that. CZ maybe just having a little bit of fun there, Lynx.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it's you're contractually obligated when you play a Rooney that you have to make it the first time you play it in any given match. So, not surprised that, especially CZ, of all people in this match, is the one to do it. That's self-explanatory. Of all people, CZ's definitely the kind of person to do that. But the question is how impactful a Rooney will be, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Honor making a quick entry into the basement, both Wolfseas and Surf trying to get some soft destruction down below. Fortunate that they don't have a buck, more suited for that engagement, but overall, you mean, rather just bring a sledge. You have the frag grenades, and you don't have to open up too many holes downstairs for what Honor seem to be going for. Poxa waiting on the rappel to jump on in and get that plant down, but there's a lot of defenders that are still in power positions to try and counter on this engagement. Now that he's dead, immediately off the rip, too, as well. You gotta question Oreo's right there and how exactly that went wrong. That wasn't a jump out of any kind. That was running straight out main door as Capcan and killing your Hibana and Thatcher, the former of which had the diffuser. To quote Vladder approximately 15 seconds ago, good play, Oreo. Let's go. But he was on a camera, so.
I mean, yeah, I can understand that, but realistically, if there's not somebody watching or not something to stop that, like, you have the opportunity for gridlock, you have the opportunity to at least bring something for that flank watch, maybe even a zero, just have that heavier amount of cams. That could offer a lot, but right now, Synthetic, they're definitely trading off a lot better than Honor, and what I mean is, the time that they're wasting, or if they're losing a player while they're making up for it in time, or map control, or 2 players on the side of Vladder being able to find these kills. 30 seconds left, and Honor, they still only really have that basement and are starting to push up yellow. They need to deal with the top floor, and Wolfseas is going to start us off by evening up that player count. But the name of the game's been given away to Synthetic. Rice is able to do some damage, downs one, but Poison will finish them off. Sif will find a refrag, but 8 seconds are ticking down, and they know where you're going to push. They know it's going to be Piano, and as time ticks down, Sif, with 1 HP, has to stop this crossfire, has to keep the player alive, and it's just not going to happen. Poison shutting down that plant, and Synthetic, they're playing it very, very nicely. They're slowing them down, and they're saying to Honor, you need to do a lot of work to get in here. And for some reason, we're seeing that 20-second meta reemerge on a map like Coastline. And, well, I think you're correct, because we're seeing Synthetic, they're just taking advantage of a lot of the mistakes Honor are making, and in doing so, they're starting to run away with it. Vlada, a huge player on the side of Synthetic. Now, I don't think you can really overstate the value of that KD right now. I'm going to try and take a look at the changes into Honor, because we're seeing that Lion now. We're seeing something that can just help shut down the aggression that we're seeing at Synthetic as we go to the bottom floor yet again. One where we saw them really just catch Honor off guard.
Attackers need to locate
Even then, and last round is indicative of this, Vlader has also, he's been blessed with a couple really good moments in terms of timing. I think that main door kind of being the max you can push that. Sure, Oreo is the one who's on coverage there. On some level that is on him, but at the same time, it's a cap can running out main door. Not exactly the most universally advisable play on the planet, just the nature of that position, and also the gun you're using to kill people approximately 20 meters away. But still, he managed to get that kill, and as you said, at least so far, the KD, Vlader appears to be one of the more impactful players, and he's likely taking a position on the roam, or at least somewhere adjacent to the bomb site once again. You also can't...
Right, hear me out on this. If Vlader is running out, as Capcan, out of the main door in a 5 versus 5, what does that tell you about Synthetic and their mindset right now? They're very, very comfortable, aren't they? Like,
yeah, I think you'd be hard-pressed to disagree with that. Or they just don't care.
Yeah, like, I mean, at this point, you have to say, well, they don't care. If they say they don't care, why don't they care? Why aren't Honor really putting the pressure and shutting down the opportunities in Synthetic? Why are they on defense feeling like they can go for these plays? A good attacking team will be able to shut down any sense of comfort Synthetic have. A good attacking team will be able to say, right, as soon as we clear an area, you do not get through it. But we are seeing Vlada being able to run out. We're seeing Synthetic just dominating the pace of the game, which is something an attacker just cannot allow. And they're not being pushed out on this top floor at all. A minute is crossing, and CZ, well, hasn't actually had to move his mouse at all.
He's just waiting for the rappel to show, and unfortunately the body moves a bit too quick for his shots to land. Probably okay with that. Still a minute in. Plenty of time to try and do some damage later on. Oreo on this line appears to be at least somewhat impactful in terms of getting in the entry so far. They're just outside of the site. He's in position to try and catch one of them off guard. Unfortunately for him, it's Vlader who his crosshairs landed upon, and he hasn't been missing his shots so far this matchup. Sure, he loses 50 HP, but in terms of how straight he's been shooting, he might get the second one. Unfortunately not. Health still strongly against him, though he manages to take 75 HP off of Surf himself, who appears to be the entry for Honor in this final minute and 30 seconds. With CZ still alive on the top floor, it's a 4v4, sure, but are Honor already getting put into disarray, or can they make this push down on the bottom floor work? And with that factor in mind, it actually might be a bit more in their favor than I initially thought it was.
I'm going to argue it's more of a, well, 6 versus 4, realistically, because we're seeing Na being able to find another kill, and the mentality just doesn't seem to be in favor of Honor right now. They are able to even things up into a 3v3, but time is also on the clock, and Na's able to find a second kill to just back things up. Synthetic, this could be the round for match point, and Honor, they are going to just try and fend it off, but Wolfseas is left alone in that 1 versus 2. 40 seconds left, getting the default, and the diffuser's down. Lynx, this just isn't looking good at all. Wolfseas trying to find a kill, but Na has a really good angle. Rice on the top floor is waiting for the push. If Wolfseas wants the diffuser, well, they've got to get past one of them. And Synthetic, the way they've been playing, they've woken up in a way that Honor just haven't. And there's the Capcan taking Wolfseas to half HP, and Synthetic will push us through to match point.
Match point, I believe, will be having a timeout as well, likely from on the side of Honor, wanting to figure some things out, as you're 6-3, I don't believe I don't believe Synthetic are calling a timeout in this position. They want to try to keep the momentum going, but if you're Honor, you want to try to collect your thoughts and also break up the momentum on the side of Synthetic. And you asked the question, why are Synthetic playing so comfortable in this situation? And I think it's in large part the reason I was at the beginning, before the match even started, saying they might have a tough time, which is they're playing with 2 subs against a CL team. If you're playing with 2 subs against a CL team, while that could hurt you in terms of the mental game or, in terms of team chemistry, on the other side, you have a lot less to lose. A lot of the pressure is off because if you lose, you had 2 subs and it's Honor. Probably expected if you're a T3 team like Synthetic. When you have people like Vladder and CZ who can channel that mindset of, well, on the flip side, hey, listen, we're playing with 2 subs against a CL team. Let's just swing things and see what happens. When that confidence is in your favor and you're just ego peeking people and those fights go your way, that can net you round wins. And in this situation, that's what's been happening for Synthetic, at least in the past couple times. They've either just been brazenly peeking angles they may not, or should not, in theory, be peeking. But at the same time, they also are playing a fair bit of coordinated aggression. A lot of the roams tied with CZ and Vladder up top, especially in the previous round. They're not playing entirely stupid. There is still a fair bit of thought process there, and I think a lot of the lack of pressure because of their situation is factoring into that.
Yeah, I think it just ties into that saying. Now, I don't want to really offend the teams, especially Synthetic at this point, but when you have, I think it's when you have a swordsman, they don't really fear going up against a good swordsman because they know what's going to happen. It's when you go against that player or that swords player who is unknown. Is that lower rank? Well, you can't predict them realistically, and I think, like you're touching upon, that's exactly what Honor are doing. They're playing into it, and they're bringing out Vladder to go and get these opportunities, and in doing so, Honor just aren't ready for it. They do not expect these players coming out, and Synthetic, like you said, they've got nothing to lose realistically. If they do lose this game, well, like I said, that's it. When we're at the start, they lose against Honor. They just move on to the next game. That's the hardest game done and out the way. Now you look forward, moving forward. So Synthetic, if they're able to find another round and at least pick up three points, well, that's just going to make life so much easier for them, especially the mental game, saying, well, we know how to play against the other teams, but now we also know how to play against Honor and some of the CL teams, the better teams. We just play the unexpected game, and I think on Consulate, that's a map that really supports it. Like you said, those windows with the rappels, well, they go both ways. You can have a lot of jump outs, a lot of run outs, and, well, Vlad is happy to demonstrate.
And then on top of that, you have Honor losing their map pick if Synthetic end up winning out this final round. Timeout is ending, so we should get back into it momentarily. You can see on your screen the timer is counting down. This could be the final round for map 1, and that is Honor's map pick. So going forward on the Clubhouse, in theory, Synthetic should be having a bit of an easier time. If you want to follow that logic, you really have to go into a match only worrying about your map pick, and maybe if you're lucky, winning your opponent's map pick. Your map pick is really the only one you should be winning. So, assuming there's a reason that Synthetic picked Clubhouse, and not assuming that they just decided to be chaotic with it and pick a random map, assuming they have a reason for it, going forward for Honor, it is a bit scary. Arrow is on a Maru, so maybe they're channeling some of that mentality Synthetic has had, and, screw it. Just see what happens. Maybe there's a mentality there. Who knows? I just want to see what Arrow does with a Maru, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And I'm going to be honest, though, that last round was the one for Honor to win, and I think they know it, because, like we said before, they have experience, they know what's going on. Well, Honor, looking at that, I'm going to be honest, they're saying, well, this round isn't looking great. We've got to win 3 more rounds perfectly. And Synthetic, they've just got to win 1. They need to get lucky once. They're on the defense, and they've been playing very, very strongly as soon as we switched. So, I'm going to be honest. I think Honor, they're saying, well, if we lose it, well, we weren't really going to win it anyway. Arrow has had that lesser amount of kills, so realistically, when you look at it from a stat perspective, you're not losing much if Arrow doesn't really pick up any kills. It just goes and it dies. And, well, with a roam clear, maybe that shock factor is what you need. It could have a huge impact here if you could coordinate it with that aggression Synthetic have had, but I think Arrow's just trying to opt what the best way to get up there is. That wall will be breached, and Synthetic's roamers will not be phased at all. They can still play with that vertical if they decide to just hold that position. Honor need to clear them out.
Not so much focusing on clearing them out yet, but just making sure that they don't get cleared out of their positions. You can see Oreo holding that prone angle, watching the windows on that second floor to make sure nobody throws a C4, goes for a wayward peek. very much on the defensive, Honor is, despite the fact that they're on the attacking side. The longer they have that mentality, the worse it's going to be for them. Surf, who is on the entry, is already having bad luck, down to 25 HP in an engagement. I'm not entirely sure where it occurred. No, that was outside, not even on the entry. So you're not even in the building and you're down to 25 HP. Well, you redeem it by taking out Vladder, one of the most important players, if not the most important player in the lobby. 2 kills follow soon after, and this is going to allow Pox to get the plant down with no problem. CZ goes for the flank, spots the head of the sledge, and he's able to catch the attackers off guard with the suppressor, no less. I'm just going to move past that one. Rice falls, and the suppressed SMG-11 is now the defender's only hope of trying to end this out 7-3, and that hope dies soon after, thanks to another headshot from Surf. Honor have won their first round in quite a while, I believe 4 for Synthetic in a row it's been. So this could be the start of the comeback, and that timeout might just be what they need to get their momentum and to break Synthetics.
That's the Honor I've been expecting to see this whole time. Based on what I've seen in the open quals, based on what I've seen from the statistics and from what I know the talent of the NA scene, it's a high skill level. Well, realistically, Honor, I've been expecting to see something like that from them consistently in each round. I've only seen it on the defense so far. Now, to break down what happened, that Amaru going in, realistically, they listened to what I said. They waited until it was a coordinated push, a coordinated piece of aggression. They were able to find a couple of picks. Synthetic, well, they just played right into Honor's laps. They said, we'll open the lines of sight. They've been peeking almost everything at this point. So let's just hold our angles. Let's just slow it down. Let's just wait a little bit. Let's hold some peaks. Let's hold those pipes. Hold the van. That's where they're finding the kills. And Synthetic, well, they're just hungry to keep padding these stats and padding their KDs. I called out a lot of their players for not really stepping up, and now they've started to do so. They don't want to stop. At that point, yes, Honor, you did lose a couple of players. You did lose your sledge. That's fine, though. Because realistically, that numbers game is just paying off. Aereo picking up 2 kills. Yeah, it was only 2, but the actual impact of it was incredible. You found a lot of pressure onto the defenders where they're saying they have just done this. They're distracted. They're trying to just react to whatever they're seeing, and now they have to deal with it. We are going to see the main lobby hold yet again, and, well, the Aruni PP yet again coming out from CZ. It, like you said, has to happen. Coming down to this side, we are going to see an attempt at a spawn peek maybe, but nothing to really be gained from it. Honor, they're playing it very tight now. They said, okay, we're not playing any more 2 rounds. That's a lot more realistic than what we were looking at the start of last round when Synthetic were on that roll.
I think Honor also expected Synthetic to go to basement a second time. At least I don't imagine Pox would bring Thermite on many other bomb sites for reasons I mentioned earlier. So, fortunate for him, not going to have the most use with his exothermics. But then again, Pox's main role is going to be droning out his teammates, maybe getting a frag, but mostly trying to get that plant down. So all things considered, not too bad. Wolf sees. Beautiful shot onto CZ right there. Fortunately for the French-Canadian, not having the best of luck. Vladder as well also being taken out early on. We already saw this spell doom for Synthetic last round when Vladder was part of the opening duels that that did not go his way, uncharacteristically for this match so far. And it seems to be all going up Honor. Early 5v2 just hit a minute past in the round. Non-Rice have a hill to climb, and he can't even get the pre-fire on the rappel. Surf hit the question mark in chat, and honestly, I'd like to second that one. Rice in a 1v5 position. We've seen a couple different players fill this position, but a first one for him. All the defenders, all the attackers have now taken above and inside the bomb site, and with a call going as well, they likely know the Malusi's position. He'll get potentially 1 exit frag, try to add to a second on the rappel. That C4's not going to fly far enough, but unfortunately, his life doesn't have the amount of steam or gas left in it either. Honor might just be about to pull it back with how quickly they have been gaining the entry against the roamers and inside the building itself. If they continue that same aggression and momentum into the final round, we might see a 3-3 half of their own.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna be honest. Whoever called that timeout, well, that was exactly it. If I'm a Honor fan right now, I want to go up and give them a huge hug, because right now, Honor have just stepped up. They've been playing a much tighter game. They've been able to find refrags, but most importantly, the opening frag. We've been finding the sledge, picking off those kills. We've seen Morphy being able to pick off CZ, and suddenly it's just rolling off of that, like you said. Vladder got taken away, and, well, yeah. Every time that Vladder's not been part of those opening gunfights and hasn't been winning them, well, they've been struggling quite a bit. Honor starting to step up on their map, starting to just get in gear and provide what I expected to see from the start. But they need to go back to that bottom floor, and they need to do it quite well. Now, if they can catch Synthetic off guard like they did last time, it's going to be by playing that slow game. It's going to be by getting Synthetic to want to peek you. And it's a very difficult task, and you can tell that they've kind of read into it a little bit in this operator lineup. They don't have that Mozzie, they've got a Goyo instead. They have a Maestro, the Malusi, the Jaeger. It's much more typical of a slow them down setup. I'd say a 20-second meta, but it's just not there anymore. But they're trying to slow them down a lot more. And maybe Synthetic, this might be a bit of a shift, saying we can't play as aggressive as we did before. We don't really have that roaming presence up top, save one, because we've realized that they've started to pick us apart really, really well. They've started to coordinate and manipulate the positioning of both the attackers and the defenders to just make Synthetic have unwinnable gunfights.
Making Synthetic have unwinnable gunfights is certainly one of the things Honor would like to hope for going into this final round. Again, that's the goal of any team in any given round, but especially for Honor, who could potentially lose their map pick 7-5 to a team with 2 subs. That's definitely a position they are striving for. Moving down to basement, Honor already won this site on the attacking team, so hopefully they're feeling a bit more confident in themselves. Arrows also moved from the Amaru to the Zofia, so we don't have to worry about that anymore and what that could potentially be, and probably a better pick overall for the utility. Oreos Dokkaebi has been a staple so far in their attacking side, every now and then being switched out for a Lion. It's hard to deny the efficacy it has had with how quickly they've been able to gain map control, at least in the fourth quarter of this match, and how easily they've been able to deal with players like Na and Vladder. But it's already a minute in, and players on Synthetic have not died nearly as quickly as they have in the previous couple rounds. Honor are playing it much slower. They're letting these defenders get in much easier positions, but right as I say that, Rice gets found out on the flank. Na's retaken his position, but Wolfseas might be going for a flank of his own. There's a Z-ping indicating that there's somebody on those Visa stairs, but he's already rotated away, and Wolfseas isn't in a position to capitalize on the defender who's now rotated to the bottom floor. Ladder with that refrag, he finds the sledge that just recently killed his teammate, but he gets caught out by Surf. It's a 3v4 for Synthetic. They still have a fair bit of impactful operators, but Honor in a sweet spot right now. If they waste any more time, it will start going against them. But they still have enough time to try and figure out as much as what they want. But losing that sledge, that's gotta hurt.
Now looking at this, though, what we're seeing from Honor is you get the sense they're really trying at this point. They are putting themselves in refraggable positions. They are not losing these opening gunfights. They're finding these picks, and now the breach is going to get opened up. They have that top floor control, which is somewhere they struggled before, and we've seen Synthetic also struggle with on the attack. Now they need to deal with the actual execution. That's where the drone work comes in. That's where these Dokkaebi cameras from the roamers come in as well. You have access to the Maestro cameras and everything else. Now will not be droned out, will be checked at the last second, and will decide to pull back, holding Spiral. Honor, though, they're ready for a push, and you can tell that it's just about to come. Poison knows it as well, and will put out one of those 3 smoke grenades. The Goyo shields will be popped, and the Yasuo's presence will start to make itself known, with the pre-fires coming through. The pressure is being applied to Synthetic, and the question is, how are they going to react to it? Then the Elder will start to give away one answer. The roam is coming through onto Aristotle, though, who doesn't know it's there, decides to push. Oreo's able to find one, but now finds 2. And now in a 2 versus 2, the plant hasn't gone down, and Poison will be knocked down, but nah, he just has to play above. The plant is there, actually. I have made a mistake, but that's still fine. It's a 2 versus 1, and right now, with the player down, it's a 1 versus 1, but nah, with the swing, isn't going to be able to land those shots, and Honor will push us through to overtime.
Public service announcement, stop sprinting. Stop sprinting in 1vx situations. Either way, moving beyond that point, that was overall fairly well played by Na before that moment. Flanking on down through yellow stairs, unfortunate the planner was not in a good position for him and wasn't able to deal with the Ash up top, but there was potential for a play to be made there. You look right now, managed to find one, down another. It's fairly good for a late flank in the round that very nearly could have denied the plan if a couple seconds or more so in his favor. Thankfully for Honor, they've now secured overtime. Not at all the, I wouldn't say humiliating defeat, but not at all the map I think they would have liked if this had ended, 7-3, 7-4, even 7-5. It's now in overtime. One of them has at the very least secured a point, no matter how the rest of this series goes. And for Honor, they're starting out on the defense, at least a side they've had more consistent success with, Even though it was a 3-3, still had I would say a bit more consistent success with than the up and downs of their attack that they have had. So starting out on basement, fairly good start for them. I would say for once the defense probably the better side overall.
Yeah, Honor, they've looked a lot more comfortable on this side. They've looked a lot more adaptable when they're playing it. And especially with this ramp up of well, I'm going to say competency that we've seen on their attack with their positioning to get the information on roamers and pick them apart. Well, I'm very excited to see what the roam game does now, because we saw that extension on the top floor where they just pick apart the synthetic players. If they can keep that up, well, that makes it makes it a lot easier when we look towards that end round. We don't see that 2 versus 2 that Honor place synthetic in. And well, let's be honest, if we see synthetic sprinting around corners in a 1v1 again, well then I can see Honor starting to pick this up a lot more. But Lynx, let's just take into account how we've seen this go. We saw a 3-3 split, and then we saw a 6-3 quarter. Now, we've pushed it over to overtime. And Honor, they're looking very comfortable. They will have to contest with this breach that has now been open, but their roamers haven't been touched with at all. And Synthetic, they know this. They are going to have to go for the roam clear, and you're only seeing one player. That is going to be CZ going into the admin area. There won't be a refrag if CZ doesn't land the shots, and with Surf playing at that top of Spiral being droned out, I'd bet, the way it's been going, I'd bet Surf is able to land that gunfight. The line scan will come to try and shut them down, and Nah is in a position to pinch, but will not be able to land the shots as Surf will open things up. Time is only 1 minute off the clock, and Synthetic, they've already a player down.
Lion as well, who, at least that style of operator being Lion and Dokkaebi, has been key to some of the roam clears for both teams, but especially Honor. Though shoes on the other foot, it's still undeniable how strong that presence or had the potential to be. But Vladder's still up, and that means Synthetic's hopes are still very much alive. The longer he has, or remains alive in the round, the more potential he has for impact. Other wall has also not been open in basement, so interesting. Wondering what's going on there. Poison probably just waiting, not wanting to give up his life too early on, and CZ on the sledge has made a quick entry, but unfortunately Surf is running rampant inside of main lobby before he was shut down by Vladder. On the side of Synthetic, you still have pretty much all the operators you need. Poison to open up that other half of the wall, and especially CZ with the sledge. He's got to be careful of any C4s, of which there's one more in the pocket of Wolfseas. He's on the second floor. He has not been cleared out of bathroom. That second hard breach charge will go and be dedicated to his use, but Arrow is there waiting with the pre-placed. He blows Vladder up. CZ gets the trade, but losing out Vladder, who's essentially been carrying Synthetic in quite a few of these rounds. That could be a burden. That is too much to bear for the side of Synthetic going into these final 45 seconds.
Yeah, now we're seeing just 2 kills coming out from Vladder realistically since we've seen that switch come through. Now CZ's going to be using that frag grenade to try and clear up utility, but Poison's on the drone. The hot drone can come in handy, and it can also suffer a lot, especially in 30 seconds when the push needs to come through. Honor, they're playing it a lot more comfortably. They're playing a lot closer, a lot tighter with that information. They're not going to be slipping this anymore. The smoke canisters will go off. Poison pushes through, is able to find a kill onto Honor. Oreo Buttbox is able to find a kill, making it a 1 versus 2. The default will give away the position of Poison, and the plant needs to go down very, very quickly. Without that happening, well, the players of Honor will just start to push. Pox will hear that plant start to go down. Aristotle will decide, well, do I want to go for a push? Maybe. But the plant's going down, and Aristotle will finish things up. And Honor, it's been a little shaky. It's been a bit back and forth. But on their map pick, they are looking to pull themselves ahead of Project Neo in the Group D standings.
Defenders win.
Yeah, winning that round was crucial for them, and overall, it was not a lot of Synthetic in that round, to put it lightly. CZ was inside of Piano. Then you had another one at the bottom of Spiral Stairs, and Surf was allowed to persist in main lobby and even take one of them out before he got refragged by Vladder. Oddly enough, there was a situation where they took a lot of that map control off-site, but they didn't deal with any of the roamers, and not a lot of, map control like Visa, or not Visa, admin, which, while useful, not exactly useful for actually setting up and execute. They had piano control, they had bottom spiral control, they had pretty much everywhere around bathroom except main lobby. So a lot of control that would have been really crucial for an execute, and yet they still allowed the roaming to persist. Wolfseas still alive inside a bathroom. Surf still alive in main lobby and got a double kill, the second of which was inside of that position. So Synthetic, they checked a lot of the boxes, but they were going all over the list for where they were going, and they didn't do it in the order that they probably should have. And what do you know? Wolfseas being inside a bathroom is once again one of the biggest problems they have had, not only wasting an exorbitant amount of time, but also luring them in for an easy C4 that was pre-placed by Arrow. Honor played that extremely well on the basement, and Synthetic were making not only a lot of mistakes they made previously, but a fair bit of new ones as well. And now that Honor on match point, if they managed to deal with the roam as quickly as they had, or as quickly as they did in the final 3 rounds of regulation, this is probably going to be 8-6 Honor.
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking at that and I'm saying Synthetic. I'm going to go back to that last one very quickly. You put a player on each window for top floor and a player on balcony. You drone it out. If you know that there's somebody up there, then that's when you start to push. If there's nobody there, then you just pull down. You drop down, you go into piano, you go in have a player on the main door and a player with visa. You apply the pinch. That didn't happen. Right now, Synthetic, they are trying to keep in the game. They have got this roam play, but Honor, they've shown on their attack, they want to win it out. We've seen both a strong attack and defense from both sides. We've seen a strong defense from Synthetic and a strong attack from Honor. And the breach is going to get open onto this bottom floor. Aristotle is looking for this opening kill, but it's not going to be there just yet. They've realized they don't need to peek it. They've got the breach open. That's a lot of the early work done. Now they're just going for that roam clear. They're not over-peaking. They're not overextending in doing so, which is where Synthetic, I feel, they kind of put themselves in positions where if they lost, they lose too much. They just lose a lot more than they gain. And right now, Vlada and Na, if they can stay alive, they opt to save some of that. Honor are going to start doing their vertical play and to get some of this site control like we talked about, but do they know about Vlada? I don't think they do. Do they know about Na? Nah, man, they really, really don't. And right now, we're going to see Wolfseas just being able to find a kill onto Vlada, holding that angle and just playing it that little bit safer. CZ will be pulling back with the Maestro and just going down spiral, saying, I'm not dealing with it. I am not dealing with this at all. I am a support. I am going back to site where it's safe. The reinforcement will go through, and suddenly, you've got 4 players on that bottom floor. Half the round has gone, and Honor, they're looking really good to start bringing things up. Nah, actually, is going to be in that bathroom like we saw coming out from Oreo, or from Wolfseas, sorry, in the last round. But will it have that same amount of success? Probably not, as Surf is able to find another kill, taking away Nah. And, well, Synthetic, it's just not looking good. Time is ticking down, and Honor are holding all of the aces, including all 5 of their players.
Rice still has a couple yokai drones. Oreo does know the position of them due to the cams being hacked, so could still deny the plan if it comes to that, but it's not as easy of a denial as it would have been if that were not the case. Some more soft breach coming down up above, and not being cleared out of that position allows much more pressure to be applied directly onto the site, and with Honor, in terms of how much time they have left to make that happen, there's still a fair bit at their disposal. Poison will start letting out the smoke canisters at the 30-second mark, exactly where it needs to be, but nobody on Honor is going yet. They're still waiting, trying to bide as much time as they can, and Oreo pushing from the back. He finds Rice Poison as well, though he's not dead yet. Likely about to be due to a pinch from Arrow, and CZ in a 1v5 just barely gets spotted, finds 2, but Wolfseas lands the fatal shot, and Honor seal out their map 8-6. It looked scary in the second half, and Synthetic had us in the first half, not gonna lie, but Honor managed to pull it back, and going on to Synthetic's map pick might not be as easy of a win as we might have thought. Winning on your map pick is still a win, and a good place to start nonetheless.
I quite like how you wormed that in, but I want to point that to Honor, and I'm saying, okay, I think they were phoning in the first half. They were saying, right, we'll get by, we'll get a 3-3 split, we'll be okay, we'll be quite comfortable, we won't really have to worry that much. But then they got a very, very real just slap to bring them back into reality when we saw Synthetic go into the defense. That's when Honor just completely shifted gears. They didn't drop a single round from that point. They just picked up 5 rounds on the trot and said, no biggie. As soon as we want to win, we can, so we're going to. So I think it's something, when you look at this scoreline, it's huge.
Yeah, 8-6 especially, but if you want to look at we'll get to this in a bit, but I'll just tell you what you're going to want to look out for in terms of scoreline, stat lines. Let's just wait to get a look at Vladder, because I have a feeling we're all going to get a little bit of enjoyment about seeing how much impact he had. I think you really can put a lot of Synthetic success on Vladder's individual performance, as well as in conjunction with some of his teammates, but Vladder almost breaking 20 kills by the end of that match, just getting 1 or 2 short. That's fairly impressive for someone coming in as a sub, but then again, Vladder, that shouldn't be all that unexpected. Here, but these highlights are players like Vladder getting those kills, but Surf, Wolfseas, and Oreo as well on the side of Honor, who were showing up big in quite a few moments. Surf and Oreo especially, and Oreo not on operators you would exactly expect. I mean, Dokkaebi, Smoke, not exactly operators that, bring thoughts of fragging out triple kills to mind, but Oreo on both those, he got quite a few of them. So overall, it was close. The scoreline was 8-6, but on the side of Honor, there was still a fair bit to be proud about.
Yeah, I think Honor being able to win that out, yeah, you can say, okay, great, we were able to win it, we took it to max OT, we played a perfect game, but Synthetic, well, like you said, they brought it back. They really put Honor on the back foot, and in doing so, that meant Honor. They really had to break out the big guns. They really had to just improve and say, we are going to get better. No doubt about it. And if you're a Synthetic player, well, you're looking at it and then saying, well, we made them uncomfortable. That's a really good sign moving forward. They're currently joint first in that Group B position, so, well, we're looking really good. We have the opportunity to really start putting a lot of pressure and making a much better showing of ourselves than we saw last week. So I'm quite excited to see Synthetic, how they're going to improve, how they're going to adapt from this. But Clubhouse, that's a map that's really going to tell us how Synthetic are going to play. It's their pick. Obviously, it's one of those standard maps, so you have to know if you're playing in T3, T4 leagues. It's Clubhouse, Villa Caf, as everybody knows, with Oregon making a lot of appearances, let's be honest. But yeah, Clubhouse, it's a map that Synthetic have to know. Honor, they're also going to know it as well. They've made the route as well to get to that CL position. So I'm quite interested to see how prepared these games are going to be as we do bring up the stats.
Not sure any of us are surprised by that, but I will say a little bit surprised that not a single player on Synthetic other than Vladder had a over 1 rating, and his cost as well wasn't just getting impactless frags, 71%, almost 75%, over, that 2/3 mark. You might want to talk about that. Often is kind of where you should be if you're going for cost. Definitely the standout player on the side of Synthetic. And Surf, Oreo, Wolfseas, and especially Surf and Oreo, they were the two big players on the side of Honor as well. But Pox, look at that, 78% in terms of the cost. He was the one getting that plant down and getting a couple key frags in places where, had he not done his job, the round might have gone a much different way for their team. But to continue focusing on Vladder, I'm sure he's very happy that I am. Definitely the reason Synthetic got as far as they did. Running out main door, and especially in those early rounds on the attack, getting triple kills and singular entries and singular pivotal moments created by him to get them those early round wins, even though that happened at 3-3. Definitely my MVP for map 1. But we do still have map 2, so don't want to get all like, this is all done yet. We could still see Synthetic come back and manage to even this 1-1, at the very least, they've secured themselves 1 point overall for the day. But we'll get there in a bit. Don't go anywhere. Just a couple minutes before we get into map 2 of Synthetic versus Honor. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to map number 2 of Synthetic versus Honor. I am still Lynx, joined by McCready once again. And just a quick shout out to Oreo for saying I look like Hot Quagmire. Don't really know all the implications of that just yet, but I appreciate the surface compliment nonetheless. But we do have map 2 coming up. It will be Clubhouse. And already, just McCready, I'm going to ask you right off the rip. Synthetic comeback, do they end this 1-1, or is it just going to be Honor?
I think it's going to be Honor quite a bit more, definitely in the early game, because it's a default map, and Honor default strats is what we saw coming out from Consulate. That's where they really started to excel. Going into Clubhouse, it is a default map. Like, there's no other way to describe it. The strategies, the way that you play, it's not who has better strats, it's who executes them better. Honor, they've got a lot of experience in playing this map, no doubt, so that's really going to factor in to help them. That's really going to just say, well, when you're going on attack, you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly how where you should be at each round, who needs to be covering what. The only real change we saw to this map since, well, let's be honest, its rework, was the discovery of Maverick tricking. And then very quickly on, teams really worked out how to deal with it, just like Oregon. So it's a map that you can't go in trying to bring out new stuff. If we see Synthetic try and do that, they're really going to fall flat on their face. But if Honor, if they're still shaken from that Consulate performance from Synthetic, well, then they're just going to drive it home hard. They're not going to give any quarter, and if that happens, well, Honor's going to close it out 2-0.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as well, though. Then again, this is Synthetic's map pick, so hopefully we might see a bit more crazy stuff come out. I mean, if it ended 8-6 on the side of Honor, if Ladder specifically is able to get a bit more room, that might be the difference maker. But also, 18 kills on one map is not often a performance that is easily replicable by any player, even a player as good as Vladder. So can you really rely, or can Synthetic at least rely on making that happen twice? Probably not. But either way, we're going to figure out right now as we're getting into the match. Remember, it's Synthetic versus Honor on Clubhouse. Map 2. Whoever wins this, they get 5 points. Whoever loses, unless it gets to overtime, they might only get 1, might get 2. We'll see how it works out. But we get to see the bands. Probably Hibana right off the rip. McCready, what do you think?
First of all, when we look at this, it's going to be a Thatcher, Mav, Cade, Capital, in my opinion. But I want to talk about Vladder a little bit because, well, we realistically have to when you think about that Consulate game. If Synthetic are relying upon Vladder to really get them through a lot of these tough rounds and put those rounds on the board, well, that's more inherent of a big issue, especially it's Synthetic. They're saying, okay, this is a, you know, it's a ranked map. You play it that way, you win your gunfights. If you're relying on Vladder to really do a lot of the legwork for your team, that's a struggle. Like we saw when he died in those early gunfights, Honor were able to pick him apart. They had a really, really easy time dismantling the rest of Synthetic. And these bans are going to be, not your typical bans, but they're quite telling, actually. Hibana and Ace being taken off the board. Thatcher and Maverick is still there. Realistically, the Maverick, that's just going to be used for some hatches. I think the Thermite is just to say, okay, we'll bait you in for this bottom floor. We're going to make you get into kitchen. You have to get yourselves into that C4able area with whatever information they have. So, okay, I understand where that's coming from. Mirror and Valkyrie, though, will be mirroring Consulate.
Yeah, Valkyrie's been taken off the board on a bit more maps than Consulate and Coastline than she was previously. We've seen her get banned on maps like Villa, and in this case, map like Clubhouse. And especially if you're having to get close to, hatches like Kitchen, not having a Valk on the board where there might be a cam hidden somewhere in Kitchen, or at the very least a C4 op that is very commonly played if she's left up. If you're starting the attack, which Synthetic are, that's going to be a blessing that you don't have to deal with. Now you just have to worry about more standard operators like Maestro impacting from below, or Arrow with the C4 and Pulse Spot. They are starting out on basement, so Synthetic will have to confront that fear first and foremost, and they'll trade out the Thatcher for the Maverick, opting to go for that hard breaching potential in combination with any possible denial on the side, or on any hatches. Now the defense is not bringing a Cade, so it's not the biggest deal. They'll just have to worry more so about Hawk's impact tricking here, or if Wolfseas decides to put Naruni on a hatch, whether or not that eventuality comes out. Right now, not looking like that's the play. So you only have to worry about Pox on the impacts. But no, there you go. He's putting it on it, right as I mentioned. So thank you for proving me wrong.
What I'm seeing coming out from Wolfseas right now, and the way that these Aruni gates are being placed from Honor, is simply just saying, well, let's slow them down. Or at least when it comes to these pushes, these executes, Synthetic, they need to either waste utility, use HP, or at least that element of surprise when it comes to dropping, because you have... If you have somebody dropping, you have to get rid of that gate, otherwise you lose 20 HP. That really puts you in a horrible position when you take into account smoke canisters, maestro cameras, guns, impact C4s, everything that Honor has at their disposal. You need to take rid of that gate, because it's the butterfly effect, while its ramifications can be dire in that late round. So realistically, that's Honor saying, well, we're going to know when they push. They have to get rid of the gate in some place, so that's going to be a huge problem for them. Additionally, bringing that Maverick and Thermite for that kitchen, like I said, that exposes them to a myriad of problems as well. They need to go for that top floor roam clear realistically. If they don't, well, they're simply saying, just shoot me from above with an impact hole.
Drone activated.
Now Vladder getting the solo entry inside a garage. We'll spot Surf on the top of blue stairs, and he actually won't be scared by that drone coming in. Still holding that position. In fact, taking a little bit more aggressively than he was previously. Already indicating what the kind of game you might be seeing on the side of Honor. But he'll rotate back quickly after that. Try and hold blue as best he can. And this position has been a lot harder to hold since the rework, or since the operator reworks have come out. So likely see Surf either rotate back in or play a bit further back like we see right now. Not focusing so much. Actually, no, he's just playing behind blue, so take back what I said, but still, probably going to rotate a bit further back than he might have before in the previous patch. All 5 members on the site, so not all as aggressive as I thought it might be. It's actually a fairly, cards close to the chest kind of setup, not wanting to give away too much. Arrow's got a pre-place next to the hatch, and with that Thermite and with that Maverick in hand, and the sledge as well inside a kitchen, might just be able to find someone, but it goes a bit too early. Not able to find anything whatsoever. He's got a hole in the floor. That's nice. Might just be able to catch poison on the rotate off, but you just have to worry about impact grenades taking down those exothermics. For Honor so far, they're doing everything right on their defense. It's just a matter of wasting as much more time as you can in the final minute.
It feels quite shaky right now when we're seeing this impact trick. We're seeing the C4. It doesn't feel Honor like they're really in control of the situation. That drone will be getting rid of that Aruni gate, which is something I was talking about a little bit earlier. Maybe spending a bit too much time on rather than focusing on the game itself. But we move. Well, let's take a look at the game while we have the opportunity. Now, the rotating blue is key. They still need to hold that if you're Honor. As long as you have that, realistically, the site is yours, because you have the ability to rotate. Now, Vladder is going to try and deal with it. The pre-fire will come out. Say no, someone's playing, but that's going to be served falling to Vladder. Looking for another kill. The replay comes out from Pox. The plan is starting to go down with 20 seconds left on the clock, and Nah is looking to just cover this angle. Realistically, that blue, that rotate is where it needs to come through, but Pox is going to be taken down, but not finished off. We'll eventually find Nah being taken away by Wolfseas, but the defense, they're really scrambling to bring it back. Arrow will find Poison, and the 2 versus 4. Synthetic, they have that top floor control, they have a player knocked down in that down but not out state, and they have the time. The time has just gone to their favor now that they have the plant down. You do have Oreo trying to push up towards those main stairs with the support of Pox, who will be pushing through, and just... Bryce is just waiting, finds 1 kill, can't find the second, but is there enough time? We will see CZ finding a kill and Aristotle taking him out, but time is off. You can't go and get that diffuser. Synthetic will find that first round.
In part, in that post plan, a bit of it comes down to Honor's decision to try to go for the 2 reses. Now, taking in a 1v2 with 2 men on the floor, it wasn't a terrible decision, but getting them both up and making sure that you could get them up safely wasted so much time that Synthetic, even when it became a 2v4, there was only about 20 seconds left, and that's effectively about 11 seconds or so before the diffuser reaches a point where you can no longer diffuse it and end up winning the round. So that was a win-win on all sides for Synthetic. Sure, it was a 2v4, and once you got those 2 on the floor, you had effectively won the round. You don't have to swing. You don't have to peek any of the hatches. Just play back, wait for them to push you up those main stairs, which is exactly what Honor did. And at that point, not only did too many die for the diffuser to even be possible for Arrow to get it, there wasn't enough time really for anybody on Honor to comfortably go for the diffuser anymore. So for a first round for Synthetic, starting out on the attack, winning a post plan as well, it's looking fairly solid. I mean, again, it is only the first round, but in terms of what they managed to overcome, only being able to use that Thermite and that Maverick for getting those hatches, it looked fairly good. Honestly, that was a good round to start off on.
Yeah, but I think the main thing to point out is realistically you're seeing that kitchen being taken control of. They get it open, they waste a C4, they waste a number of impacts that will get open at that point. You have the Maverick and that Thermite. It's an eventuality, not a possibility. It is going to happen. Then they had Vlada said, okay, Vlada, you popped off really well. You're really feeling it, aren't you? So we're going to put you down in oil. You're going to turn the heads. You find the kill onto the Jaeger, onto Surf, which is what happened. Suddenly, Pox is turning that Elder. And as soon as that happens, you're seeing the drop coming out. So Synthetic, they're feeling a lot more coordinated than we saw in those final rounds of Consulate. The question is, do they have that stamina to keep it going? The Bandit trick is going to come out from arrows, so my big question is, where's this Mav trick just going to say no? And I think it will, because, well, you can't really Bandit trick a blowtorch, can you? I mean, I call me a color caster, Lynx, but it just doesn't work.
You'd be correct on that assumption, and also with Arrow being close to the wall, if he decides to stay there a bit too long, he might get spotted on any member of Synthetic who is on the rappel. On the contrary, if the person on the rappel for Synthetic it isn't watching as closely as he should, Arrow might be able to find himself a cheeky kill on the Maverick, but no, he's rotated off. He's allowing Rice to have his way with Flatwall. Meanwhile, Poison down below is using both of his exothermics on the bottom garage walls. Again, fairly solid allocation of all the hard breaching utility on the side of Synthetic. As well, getting those two bottom garage walls open in the first minute, you're able to apply a lot more pressure to Pox on the Wamai up top. Arrow will land a couple of shots onto Rice, but nothing at all crazy or enough to write home about. 75 HP still remaining, and with those two frag grenades, combined with CZ to make 4, either of them can decide who wants to start pressuring Pox first, as well as I'm sure the gunfire and the angles that will be held by one member of the defense, the Thatcher grenade as well to disable the ADSs. Pox is not long for this world of Synthetic managed to play the angles and the utility properly.
But that Wamai Magnet will escape the EMP, and suddenly we're seeing Pox being pushed out. Will take some damage, doesn't really land much in return, but will stay alive for long enough for the ADSs to come back. But right now you have 3 guns looking at you, and you're not able to win a single gunfight. This now will close you down. CZ will be able to find a kill as well, and right now Synthetic, they're looking very comfortable. They're positioning themselves for winnable gunfights, which they just can't seem to lose, even though Wolsey is trying to do something about it. Will not be down though. Right now Synthetic, they have that two-player advantage. They have a lot of site control, breach, and rafters. The question is, how do they play with the C4? Do they go for the push? Do they wait for the smoke? We're going to find out. That Vlada is contesting a lot of these positions and is just being careful for whatever they can throw at them. Synthetic, though, they are just waiting a little bit longer. And at the very start, it didn't feel like they were wasting that much time, but now it feels like they're starting to stall out a bit. Wolfseas will get down, but will be revived as the plan will start to go down by Poison. That, though, is going to be shut down from Vlad. The Maestro camera will start to do some damage, but in doing so, they know only one person has the gun up. Wolfseas, though, gets theirs out and finds another. Just has to find 2 more. Time is ticking down, and CZ will find that player. Oreo on their own. Able to find... Nah, but doesn't get any more. That's going to be Synthetic closing out round 2.
That was a good play in the final seconds, almost landing the shotgun kill on Rice, but that vault there, not exactly the best play, but then again, it wasn't the easiest position, and I'd probably panic vault in that same instance as well. Synthetic now off 2-0. They've won attack on both CC and basement. Honor going to try that second bomb site I mentioned for a second time. They've looked fairly coordinated on the side of Clubhouse. It hasn't just been, Vladder peeking angles and single-handedly gaining them a foothold in the round. It's been, for the most part, them playing together, them covering a lot of bases they need to, opening up flat wall fairly quickly thanks to Rice on the Maverick trick. Excellent play. Getting fairly quick pressure onto Pox on the Wamai on garage rafters. Expertly done by not holding the angle, as well as frag grenades, forcing Pox to try and quickly move to position while also not being shot at by the attackers holding angles. That was really great coordination on all counts by Synthetic, and then it looked a bit shaky when Poison started to get smoked out on the plant, but even then, they all pushed in proper angles, made sure that they were pinching out defenders and not just pushing one by one through the same doorway. I don't know. I'd give that, that's an overall great rating on their attack, and for what have been 2 really good attacks so far.
Yeah, honestly, comparing it to Consulate, I'm very impressed with the way Synthetic have been approaching their attacks, and it's been paying off in such a way that you can't really fault them. They've had that coordination in the positions where they're starting to stall out and starting to slow down. They've done enough legwork in the early round to just give themselves that advantage moving forward. Now, Honor, they are going to look for that SSG roam. They are going to try and just shut down Synthetic and slow them down like they did on Consulate. That's something they excelled in very, very well. But the biggest thing for me right now is Synthetic. They're rehearsed, they're prepared. You can tell that they are comfortable in a way that they might not have been on Consulate. And right now, this push will start to take place. They are going to try and take that gym and bedroom per side. Maybe put a bit of pressure onto construction through CCTV. In doing so, you're going to start putting the squeeze onto Synthetic. And, well, like a balloon being pushed from both sides, eventually it's going to pop. Hopefully, Synthetic are able to do that with a minimal of casualties and a minimal usage of time. CZ, though, will be positioning themselves over towards Abilias to watch for the rotate. That's a positioning I really like to see, because in doing so, when that balloon does pop, they're either going to go down or they're going to hold their ground and fight and probably die. With CZ in the position that they're in, you're there to catch the players who don't die.
It is position. Also interesting to see Honor change strategies so I guess universally, going from all 5 members sitting on the bomb site to now an extension we've seen the likes of before. You know, that classic SSG roam. Crow probably watching this match is doing the bit where he completely describes in every facet an SSG roam himself. He's probably doing that in some Discord call right now. And already, minute 30 in, Wolfseas and Oreo have both rotated back. Meanwhile, Surf, not as far out as he was, but he's moved down inside a garage with easy access to Oil Pit if he chooses to rotate back. He's just waiting, casting further doubt in the minds of the attacking team, questioning where this Mozzie could potentially be. And if you want to look at the results so far, at least in terms of time, it's going fairly well. But in terms of lives, Surf waited a bit too long. Vladder got his scent, moved down into garage, and removed him from the board. Now, the opening pick going to favor of Synthetic. Now they have to try and shore up their loss of time. They haven't really found much. Nas started to get to work with that Maverick torch, and Poison has used one exothermic, but beyond that, CZ has seemingly opened up a few holes outside kitchen, but not so much in the actual site itself. They just didn't get kitchen hatch. Okay.
I'm looking at this, and Synthetic, it is a very systematic clearing with a minimal utility, a little bit too much of the time, but realistically, they're not wasting it in a way that they're just standing around and waiting. They are droning, they're positioning themselves to deal with utility, like you see from CZ, and hold these flanks, which Oreo is about to suffer from as Rice is able to find that first kill. Wolfseas will find a trade, though, to deal with it, and to put that pressure off of Blue. They dealt with it very early on, which means they have to rotate Nah around, and now Nah pushing through can catch Wolf in the background, but Nah is able to find Box, will draw Wolfsea's attention away, but Nah's there with a kill as well. Suddenly we're in a 3 versus 1, and Aristotle has to find something yet again. We saw them clear out all the attackers before on this site, but right now you're stuck in dirt, and you have 3 guns looking at you. Time is ticking down. It's really not looking good as you push. You look for something. You quick peek onto Poison, but Poison just isn't going to give it to you. And that's the kill in Synthetic. They're looking dominant so far.
That attack certainly looked the weakest overall in terms of how Synthetic were managing their time, only really starting to get that second floor map control you need, about a minute 15 left. But they still managed to transition it. Kitchen hatch was not reinforced, which what could have been, if that hatch was reinforced, could have been a major time seek when Synthetic really did not have any time to sink into any more long-term objects of their curiosity. That could have been huge, but instead that hatch was soft. Any sort of time that could have wasted, easily undone by CZ with the sledge. Now, they made up for so much ground just by that one hatch being unreinforced. And Synthetic have already shown that if they need to rely on frags, if just a little bit of timing goes their way, they can get the frags necessary. And at that point, before Honor really had a chance to even bring it back, it went from Surf dying fairly late in the round to barely anybody on the defense being left to counter the plant. It was a 2v4 with the Poison easily getting the plant down and not much recourse coming out from Honor, because half of your members of the defense remaining alive, being Arrow, was stuck inside of dirt with no way to move, because once his teammate died outside, it's 3 people all watching that entrance that you can no longer leave through. Have Synthetic been dominant? Absolutely. In part, it's been because Honor haven't been looking as strong as they were in some of the rounds on Consulate, but it really has been a lot of Synthetic winning these rounds, not Honor losing them.
Yeah, and I look at it and I say, okay, Synthetic, they know where they need to be at each point in time. They know what needs to be done. We saw Nah oh, we saw Nas in a position where he could go around and refrag as soon as we saw Vant being taken away. Just saw the player pushing down onto blue just to take up that position, apply that pressure. Still, it was something Honor read into, but didn't expect the Synthetic to double down on. Realistically, like you said, with that hatch being taken off the board, they just start flooding into side. Time has been saved. They don't have to worry anymore. In an SSG roam, you don't need that kitchen hatch. You can still reinforce it. So Synthetic, they're looking very strong. They're taking advantage of the mistakes Honor are making, but Honor, they need to start tightening it up. We saw it on Consulate. Can they do it now? Now, Pox is going to be looking for this kill, isn't able to land the shot onto the crossing poison, which doesn't really surprise me. He's not trying to take that gunfight, but the impacts will start to get used. Honor may be feeling a little bit shaky if they're using the utility this early, a minute into the round, just to try and get some advantage, which they've struggled to get so far. I don't think they've got the opening kill in any round at the point. So Synthetic, they're looking very comfortable. The breach being open, like you said. Pox is feeling uncomfortable. And I think that goes to the rest of Honor in the way that they're playing, the way that they're holding these angles. They don't want to get aggressive. They don't want to try and win these gunfights. And they have just reinforced and electrified those garage walls. Arguably more work put into those walls than the actual breach itself.
And these K-charts being put on the wall is certainly a good attachment, but good adaptation, but unfortunately, Rice and the Torch can counter that pretty easily, so it's just another reallocation of resources that Synthetic have already proved to be adept at. Unfortunately, not able to handle these ADSs and magnets as easily as they did last time. The first grenade gets eaten, the second being cooked, and now Nas' life has been taken away. The Thatcher can no longer get rid of those ADSs and Wamais, and CZ does the work for the team and kills himself. Started to look like he was pulling his weight, but unfortunately, you know what? That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to diss him too much. Rice finds Pox on the rafters, so a bit later than they found him in the previous attack on the CCTV, but better late than never. With one frag grenade still left in his pocket, he can try to get this Maestro cam. Believe that was successful, not entirely sure. But Synthetic are much more worse for wear than they were previously. Poison will adapt, not plant behind the server rack, but plant right on the breach, but they know exactly where he is. It's an easy smoke canister to land, an easy C4 soon after, and Rice, with only garage control left for Synthetic, doesn't have much beyond that in a 1v4. Diffuser trapped on breach, likely with defenders looking at it, and Oreo looking exactly where he is as well in that garage window. Certainly the strongest Honor have looked on a defense, and for a 1v4, that's pretty strong. And again, still their first defensive win. Still have a fair bit more to prove.
Yeah, right now, Synthetic, they've already got those 3 rounds. That's a 3-3 split secured, and even with the shift, Clubhouse is one of those maps that's always been that little bit defender-sided, so Synthetic, they're looking good, they're looking strong. Now, the biggest issues there was that they lost Nar on that CCTV window. In doing so, and Garage push, in doing so, well, you lose that player advantage. You lose that little bit of whip control on the window. You can't cover anyone trying to push over to rafters to help out Pox. And then CZ, well, accidentally frags himself, and in doing so, you're seeing the last couple of players of Synthetic. They're in that garage, they're in the rafters. Granted, they have finally pushed out Pox, but they don't have any control on the breach. They don't have anybody nearby ready to try and take advantage of the opportunities they've made, which is where they've excelled. They just start to slow down. Synthetic, they had all the guns looking at them. In the same way we saw Aero trying to clutch up on that bottom floor, all the guns were pointed at them. They just had to wait until Synthetic pushed in. And Honor, very nicely done to just start bringing it back. But like we said, you need to bring back more. There's going to be a very typical setup coming out on Gym Bedroom. Like I said, you need to see on a map like Clubhouse. The Go Shield being brought out, the Wamai, the Jaeger, the Maestro, and Castle. Well, not Castle, sorry, the Smoke. Well, it just sums up that you're going to see Honor looking to slow them down, and by doing so, will force gunfights, will force Synthetic to play the right game. The question is, will Synthetic? Are they able to do exactly that? Are they just going to keep on this roll of momentum they've had?
And is the question, isn't it, whether or not Synthetic can regain the momentum after that one-round loss, only serve it as an interruption for continued success, or if that was enough to stop the momentum, stop them in their tracks in Synthetic, to have to take a couple rounds in order to recollect their thoughts. For the moment, Honor, well, I mean, it's only been 30 seconds, so Honor, of course, they're still remaining in their positions, and Arrow is able to find a cheeky angle onto Vlad, or can he finish it off is the question. He's put him down to 25 HP, but he's taken 50 in response by the very man he was trying to find a second time. Now that Arrow's rotated back, probably the smart play. You've done a fair bit of damage, cast a bit of doubt in the minds of the attackers. Just sit back, generate your magnets, play beside Wolfsies, and hold out as long as you can on this cache extension. And with how it's set up, Wolfsie's on red stairs and some magnets and reinforcements to aid Arrow directly inside the room itself. It's a fairly solid setup, but depending on how quickly Wolfsies gets taken, and players like Nav, Ladder, or CZ, whichever one, is able to get access from that rotate hole made into red stairs, it could be easy pickings, and with Surfing taken off the board early on, Wolfsie's going to retake his position. Arrow gets the refrag, but it's still an unwinnable position with how things have developed, and he'll be forced to rotate back.
Yes, now we'll see that cache area as soon as Synthetic drone it out, they'll be taking control of it. Honor, they'll just be saying, right, we start moving forward. We found a kill onto Surf, we pushed them out. Time is ticking down, however. And Vladder is on that low HP, will take up the position on the windows, and in doing so make themselves a very, very strong target for the defenders. The rotate is coming out in full force from Synthetic now that they know that that wall is done, and instead of trying to really commit to getting both walls open in one go, they're bringing the Maverick around. A breach is there, and they can open this hatch now and deal with as much utility as they want to, but that's a fear. A lot of the work has been done. You've only got one of those impact nades left, and right now trying to contest the windows is just offering Honor a gunfight they will struggle to lose. They don't really have to miss, and Honor on a team that will. Smoke gases will start to go through down as you approach the last 40 seconds of the round. Damage will be done, and Poison will be down with that diffuser in hand. Will be picked up by Nardo, but still very low HP. This makes the smoke so much more valuable as we come down closer and closer till the end of the round. And the impact nade will go out onto Rice, but it won't get the kill. Wolfsies, though, will be able to do exactly that. Oreo going for that kill, finding it, but refract immediately. Nah, all on their own has to fight too and just can't make it happen. Honor will pick up another defensive round. This will be done with Gym Bedroom. Realistically, you want to see it done on the bottom floor as well.
That is true. Bottom floor, definitely one of the sites you probably should be winning on a Clubhouse defense, but with the look that Honor have had in the past couple rounds, we might be seeing another 3-3-half, kind of like what we saw in Consulate, again, where the roles were reversed, where we're Synthetic coming back and trying to end their half 3-3. On Honor's defense, it's been looking stronger the past couple rounds, but Basement is the one site they have yet to win. They won CC, they won Gym, and now this third site is what they have to try their best at. They've played it twice, but lost it both times, so easily the worst site they have had on this map, on this map so far. And it appears that they're going more with what they tried to do the first go-around. Play close to the site, play with that Maestro impact grenade, Arrow as well, the Malusi with the impacts, and hold the line as long as you can in a different way than they tried to do the second Basement defense, which was bring Mute, bring Mozzie, bring Castle, bring Vigil, and try and slowly kite them across the map and then eventually rotate back. The thing with that is, them anchoring was... it was actually, thinking about it now, I was going to say it was worse than their extension, but that did require a 2v4 post-plant clutch from the side of Synthetic, so maybe this is actually the right strategy to go for. I don't know. Either way, Honor are the ones that have to prove that, not me.
I think this is the right way to go, considering how Synthetic were able to clear out that top floor and clear out that extension very, very comfortably in our third round, if I'm not mistaken. So looking at Honor, going back to it and saying, right, we'll play this defensive position, we'll play the anchor. Well, that's purely because exactly that. This is the one they've had more success on. This is the one where they have the opportunity to really just get that 3-3 split unlocked and replicate what we saw on Consulate, being able to really step up as soon as things really don't go their way. A big thing for me is they need to be ready to get another player into that blue position as soon as possible, because Surf got taken out very, very quickly by Vladder, who was just told with a Sophia, right, walk in, put pressure on, at that point we drop. Now, we're not seeing the Aruni coming through because I think it was dealt with way too quickly for Honor's liking, so they have opted to just bring that Goyo instead, and that makes a lot of sense. If you put it near that default position, or you put it in maybe blue, that can cause a lot of problems. But speaking of problems, Rice is going to be downed all the way in that garage by Surf, doing a lot of damage, and hopefully for the side of Honor, being able to take away that Rice with just one smoke canister or impact grenade. Right now, though, Synthetic, they will start to get to work on that vertical play. There we go, a bit of a tongue twister onto me, apparently. But Synthetic, they have the time, they have a lot of opportunities to work with. They just need to keep it on. They need to play it tight, and they need to not let Rice get caught out of guard by any little piece of utility. This vertical play will get to work. Aristotle not wanting to hold that dirt based on what happened last time. And I don't really blame them. But half the round's been taken off so far. Synthetic have that top floor. They have all of their players alive. And they have a lot of utility in pocket to really deal with the nitty-gritty of the Honor defense. And speaking of, Pox is going to take just some damage. As CZ is just unrelenting. And the Thermite is going to try and start opening the hatches as will Vladder.
This is starting to reach a worrying point for the side of Honor. Pox dying right after I say that is certainly adding some evidence to my claim. The amount of holes that are being opened up top and the amount of hard destruction that Synthetic were able to get through, albeit a bit late, ignoring that with frag grenade by CZ, the amount that Synthetic were able to accomplish with that kill on Pox as well, Honor running out of spots to sit. Their best hope is to try and run out the clock and hope that Synthetic wastes time just by being scared or just by stalling out themselves. One exothermic, I believe, has been wasted by an impact grenade, so if you're going to try to do it one way, that's the best you can, and now they're going to try to Maverick trick it instead, but the utility might be a foregone conclusion or something they don't even have to worry about. 3 more kills ring through for Synthetic, and Poison getting the plant. Arrows found himself in a familiar position. Trapped, alone, in a clutch situation. Unfortunately for him, it was even worse than it was last time. Synthetic ended the half 4-2 on Clubhouse attack, going into their defense.
Okay, now this is exactly what you want to see if you're a Synthetic fan. Is a very close game on Consulate, and that wasn't your map pick. So now you're going to Clubhouse, you're seeing a very, very different Synthetic. We're not seeing these loose mistakes that they were making, at least that loose gameplay. They're not giving away kills for nothing. They're not giving away map control for nothing. Everything that they're doing is they're saying, okay, if we're pushing through, if we're losing players, we have to be getting this in return. And that's exactly what's happening. Honor on the flip side, though, they just, like you said, they're just not taking these early gunfights, or they're not winning them, so to speak. The utility is being just ripped away by Synthetic. Granted, the extension didn't work for them with the SSG roam. However, that didn't mean sit completely in sight. You can have those roamers to try and cause that issue. You didn't have it, and as such, Synthetic, they just got that floor open. They had a lot of time to work with, a lot of time to get a look at the setup and say, this is how we're going to deal with it. We get a push coming through down blue, a push down main stairs, and the vertical play with the entirety of that kitchen just being destroyed. And, well, Synthetic, they didn't really have a hard time. So looking at this, saying that they can go for kills as well as these blends, well, that, you know, that's proven by the statistics. The only kills the rounds they've lost, shockingly enough, are down to Honor being able to win the gunfights, and it's been on that CCTV gym bedroom site. Now, though, Honor are going to have to attack the very site that they have failed to win at all, and that's going to be the bottom floor. And Vladder, well, Vladder's just going to get quite cheeky, like with that Consulate run out of main door, but nobody's spawning on the construction, so, well, it basically doesn't really matter. No Aruni PP will be drawn, and, you know, I'm kind of disappointed. I miss it at this point, but they do have that roam, and hopefully for Synthetic, they'll be showing Honor exactly how to do it.
Already a rotate from CZ. Then again, the site is bottom floor, so no need to play too far out. Just wait to see if you can get some intel, and then if you don't find any, no point overstaying your welcome. Difference that Honor are bringing out, they've opted to put Wolfsies on the Buck and also put Arrow on the Capitao. Buck can have a bit more soft destruction versatility than Sledge can, though he does lack those frag grenades, so only Oreo will have those in his back pocket. But they are bringing Arrow on the Capitao, a very strong operator on Clubhouse. On basement, say you have Rice playing in a position like Blue, which he is. If he overstays his welcome, just like CZ might have up top, who, as I said that, is rotating back up with Vladder, though they themselves look like they're rotating back. Moving back to previously, if you manage to find a firebolt onto Rice, you could get a free easy kill, but Arrow's doing that work himself with his gun. No utility necessary. Catches CZ out on the roam, so maybe that rotate back up wasn't the most advisable move on his part. Now Vladder has to play by himself with a DMR. Not exactly the best position, but what am I talking about? If anybody can make it work, it's Vladder. He gets the refrag, but Wolfsies gets a trade of his own, and Nom manages to rotate back, scathed, but alive. and it's just Vladder left alone on what is probably a failed synthetic roam.
Yeah, Honor now, they've cleared it out, and now Vladder, yes, you're still alive, yes, you're on the roam, but you are isolated and cut off. Now, Honor, they have control of the kitchen, they have control of all the positions they need, but Vladder is just going to keep picking them apart. Going to be able to find a kill onto Sophia, will be drawn out, but when has that ever stopped him? Let's be honest. We'll be able to drop a hatch and cause an issue in the late round. This is something Honor have capitalized a lot upon on their Consulate attacks, but now Wolfsey's realizing this and will go with Oreo and say, we have time for this execute, but we need to deal with the flank. Oreo will be pushing forward, but Vladder knows that they have an opportunity to just get down to sight. And if you can, that's huge. But Wolfsey is there to get a kill alongside Box and leave Nah, the Malusi, it seems to always be on this side, in an almost unwinnable position. But time ticking down to 1 versus 3. There's an opportunity here. Nah is going to play quite close up against this blue wall, and in doing so, will be able to just make sure the long angles, they're not really going to catch you off guard. You can see that drop over by Kitchen. You know that frag grenade's coming through. It won't get caught by the ADS, but you know where they're pushing. You know where you're going to have to deal with, and the diffuser will be taken down. Now we'll be looking for another kill, but is unable to get it just yet. The plant is going to start going down by 1, and it's just going to take 1 swing from Nah. That's going to be exactly what happens, and well, they just don't have time to get on it. Synthetic will win for the first time on Clubhouse this bottom floor.
That was disappointing. I'm just going to be honest with you on that one. So, Nah's alive, 1v3. As you said, Malusi seems to be in that position. So, unfortunate for him, precedent does not indicate that he's going to survive that. Lucky for him, Honor all decided to push 1 by 1 down blue. Now, normally that would result in Nah getting some free kills. What it meant was, just by them slowly in a single file line walking down blue, time wasn't exactly on their side. They didn't have the intel on where Nah was, and as a result, he had a bit more freedom to play with, especially because there was no pressure on the side of Honor that wasn't in or around blue. Nobody's playing the hatch, nobody's playing main stairs, nobody is playing anywhere that can actually see where Nah is unless they manage to find him moving across that rotate hole into blue, and once they didn't, what little intel they could have had was gone. All Nah had to do was wait as long as he could and hope he killed the planter. Some luck went his way, and that's exactly what happened. Well played by him in that 1v3. We've seen him in a couple clutch situations before, but it's good that this one finally went his way. And going into the rest of the defense, now winning that round, which you probably shouldn't have. If Synthetic had momentum before, they definitely have it now.
Almost certainly. Going down to that bottom floor, being able to win it out, the only site that Honor weren't able to win, that trend is going to continue. The 1v3 that should have happened, that's going to really affect Honor, saying their mentality is, we're a better team going into it statistically, both history-based and statistically. We shouldn't be losing these. We shouldn't be failing to take this bottom floor site on defense or attack. But that's exactly what's happening. Now, you can see the shotgun holes made on this wall make it difficult a little bit for Oreo to get this map trick. However, without any utility like a Cade or a Bandit on the wall, well, it's going to be a lot easier for them. You just get on that rappel, you don't have to worry about these sight lines. Now this wall will start to get opened up, that bottom line will be made, and we'll see Oreo just jump up and get the flank and get the top. That wall should be opened up quite quickly, and Synthetic can just say, well, we know you're exactly where you're going to be. We just have somebody ready to pre-fire that position if you are not on top of it. Pox will drop though, and suddenly we'll just see Oreo feel a lot more comfortable to open it up. But time is being wasted. CZ will be droned out. They know that he's there, but will finally get the drone off the board. Make that 2. They know that our Raptors player is there. But with the Wamai on the board, a lot of utility denial is still available for Honor. They know this, and they will be able to open up the garage below CZ to really start putting that pressure on, which we've seen before. That, combined with the possibility of a Thatcher, which is where we saw Synthetic really pick it up and take that garage, is not going to be on the board. Surf will be getting a kill, as we'll see Oreo, onto CZ, putting us into a 5 versus 3, half the round taken away off the board, and Wolfsey's just watching for his flank.
Appears to be some kind of intel that a flank is incoming, but the exact position of Vladder is unknown. Clearly so. Arrow walks in, gets his head taken clean off by Vladder, but Wolfsey is there for the refrag, so what damage could have been done by the flanking Wamai is minimized by Wolfsey's positioning. But you did lose the Capital, and that can be a crucial operator in terms of clearing out the remaining defenders and setting up for an execute. Thankfully for Honor, there's only 2 left. One with the C4, which has now been utilized, and utilized to no real effect. And the only source left for plant denial is Poison with the 3 smoke grenades, which are now no longer on this mortal plane. Fox, 1v4, easily able to get the plant down unless Rice lands the most miraculous shot on the planet, and unfortunately, not going his way. Wolfsey's watching the angle downstairs, knew exactly what Rice was going for, and he takes his head clean off as well. Honor able to come back from that previous round loss in a fairly dominant fashion, so at least for the moment, it's not all synthetic yet.
Yeah, now, if you're synthetic, I'd be thinking, okay, well, we took that bottom floor really comfortably in the first half. We really slipped up towards the end. Maybe try this gym bedroom. That's exactly what they're going to do, because in this way, it allows them to keep that slow down, which we saw Honor being able to utilize on their own defense. That last round, that didn't really happen. We saw that breach being opened up very comfortably by Oreo and Pox, which just led to that line of sight. Suddenly, you're seeing your Jaeger being cut off in rafters. Suddenly, if you're synthetic, you're seeing, okay, well, the Jaeger's got to drop, realistically. That can't happen. That wall's just been opened behind. So you've just immediately cut off a player by having that Maverick on the board and not having anything trying to deal with it because of these sidelines that can be used by the attackers. Synthetic, maybe try and have their players ready to just pull back that little bit earlier, just as soon as they start feeling that pressure. Because that's where Honor were able to isolate them. That's the name of the game for Roamers. You isolate them, you take them off. For example, in that at the end of the last round, when we saw the Buck being able to find a kill of Wolfsey's, picking up their 11th kill in this game, there's no doubt in my mind that we saw Honor getting a player watching that top red just in case. So you see the player on red just stuck in that position. That's where I want to see Honor really start to step it up, is having these crossfires and kill boxes set up. So the Roamers, they just don't have anywhere to go. Whereas Synthetic, they need to think about these exit strategies just a little bit more, because this is where we've seen them being caught out a couple of times in that last round, and a little bit on their first offensive round on bottom floor. One Ghost Shield will be popped on red, and I'm pretty sure that is going to be a mistake, because, well, as a defender, you don't really go popping your own utility.
Either way, even if it was not a mistake, losing a Goyo Shield early on, but it probably was a mistake. I'm just allowing for some bit of dignity for Rice to keep. Whether or not it was a mistake, still losing a Goyle Shield and being down 1 is not exactly the best position when that is entirely Rice's utility, or at least primary utility. Honor not even focusing on that side of the map, so there's still a bit of time to set up if Synthetic so wish to do so on that CC roam. It's mainly focusing on Jacuzzi Wall for the moment. Wolfsey's also right outside Strip Club, going to move down below and hopefully try and tear the floors away from beneath the defenders, or if they go for a gym plant, to watch and make sure that either nobody goes for a C4 or goes through any of the rotates to take him down. But that's still a long ways away in all likelihood. Still only a minute in. What little map control has been acquired by Honor is relatively uncontested by Synthetic. Most of their pressure is either around main stairs or all the way on that east side of the map. Rice has rotated down, letting go of that cache extension, and likely going to try to apply pressure on players like Wolfsey's, who's still holding down below, firmly in the grasp of Honor.
Now, though, this roam that you can see, Poison will be taken down as that wall will be opened up, and Arrow will be able to find the first kill to start things off with that Thatcher. But you're seeing that roam that's looking for that late round, which is where we saw Synthetic. They started to struggle a little bit, and when they were able to win the round, it was down to that 1 versus 3 with those late pushes. Aristotle is able to find Vladder as well, shutting down yet the Jaeger. And suddenly, Synthetic, they're starting to look a little bit shaky, a little bit uncomfortable. But one player who isn't is Rice. You lost 1 Goyo Shield, but the exit strategy of your player worked well. You found a kill onto the Buck, you've got control of the main stairs, and suddenly you're contesting that breach yet again alongside CZ. And in doing so, Honor, a lot of the time that they've spent has just been reset back to square one. Rice still putting pressure on the stairs, still saying to Honor, you need to deal with me. That's exactly where they're diverting their players to, and Rice doesn't know about it, though. Aristotle, just holding that position, is not going to see the crouch, but will flick onto it, and suddenly the main stairs back in Honor's control, ready for a push onto site, outnumbering the players 2-1. You're seeing Nar taking away that drone, but realistically, Nar's just got to make it back to site, and the Sharks are circling. They know exactly where he is going to be coming from, and they know exactly the fact that in 20 seconds, they're going to make their way back to site because they don't have a choice. Nah, though, is going to be able to find a kill. Oreo will fall, as will CZ. And suddenly, Nah, yet again, 20 seconds, a 1 versus 3. Can they make it 2 for 2? We're gonna find out. Finding 1 kill. Has to look for another one, but you didn't get the diffuser. Swinging onto Arrow, but Box is gonna be finding that kill. And Honor will be bringing us yet another round closer to evening things up.
Not gonna lie, heard the pistol get whipped out, got a bit scared after that one, but thankfully Pox fell off the plant, was in the right position to stop Na from getting another clutch in what would have been Na's seconds so far. Honor looked shaky at that very first round, and I was scared for where this is going, but they are just 1 round away from equalizing and getting to that penultimate round of 5-5, denying, at least for the moment, Synthetic match point. Again, we're not there yet, and Synthetic will opt to go down to basement for the second time this go around. Remember, that did come down to a 1v3 clutch from Na, so it's not at all in Synthetic's favor as we think it might be. Aside from that 1 round, it's been fairly in the hands of Honor. They choked that first one, sure, but the other 2 have been strongly in their favor, and even then, for the most part in that first round, they seem to be the ones setting the pace that Synthetic were struggling to keep up with. One of the adaptations Synthetic will try to make to minimize that damage, put Vladder on the Capcan. We've already seen what that can do in his hands, but the question is whether or not that, that's his operator selection or indicative of a shift in mentality. If Honor just allow Vladder to start peeking out of control, we might see Synthetic come back, but they've done a much better job of shutting him down than they did on Consulate, and that might be one of the difference makers, not only for Honor coming back, but for them winning this round in particular.
I'm seeing this Capcan pick as just basically saying, right, okay, Vlad is being picked off a little bit earlier now, which is something we saw in Consulate as well. So we're bringing the Capcan. What we get from that is that passive information I spoke about before, and passive damage. In the best case scenario, you're starting to do damage to at least the entry, which means they're a lot less confident go for these pushes, meaning they have to commit more bodies for refrags, meaning they can't maybe go for a wide spread out push, which Honor they seem to be excelling at. In having these different bodies, all these multiple working parts moving together. So that Capcan, it's saying to me, okay, they're worried that Vlad isn't going to be able to perform in this roam, as well as we saw with the original. So they're going to play it a lot safer, and there's exactly is the damage I was talking about. Surf is going to be on half HP, and is now going to be in a position where you're not going to want to enter too aggressively. You're going to want to check these stores. You waste a little bit of time, granted, which you can see from Wolfie's, but not too much. It's the shooting or the actual triggering of the Capcan traps that really put the meat in it. 2 minutes are ticking down now, and we do see Honor having complete control of this garage and CCTV area. Not really much in the way of a roam from Synthetic, but it doesn't feel like they need to, because Honor, they're already going to execute it. Synthetic, they say, right, that first trap's gone. They're not putting that pressure on Dirt or Kitchen already, so they're doing a roam clear. CZ can wait. As soon as you feel the pressure of this player running into your line of sight, which you don't know about, well, then you can just start pulling back onto site. And now the flashbang's getting an air jab's coming onto... Not air jabs. The Tracer's coming over to CZ. That's going to be pushing him back.
DD will be pushed back. Probably good. That was the lesion on the roam was the death of him previously, with Arrow catching him off, so actually managing to get back to site. Already looking much better for Synthetic, at least in terms of the first minute 30, first minute 45 seconds. Honor have not found as much map control as they did previously either, so for the defensive side, of this round, it's looking much, much better overall, and not looking like we might see Na in a clutch situation. But then again, there's still a minute left. A lot could happen, and a lot could go wrong for the defense. We'll start looking up right for Surf. We'll push the Jaeger out of blue and start to get that bit of map control. And that's the second self-grenade kill we've seen in this match. Oreo blowing himself up, losing out on the Maverick, and whatever bit of torch or whatever bit of hard destruction he had the potential to do, now gone. Surf still has blue control and only on 50 HP. It's still a necessary bit for the attackers, but CZ, recognizing the chaotic position and frantic position Honor might find themselves in after that kill, looked like he might make a play on main stairs, but again, he'll rotate back, potentially into the waiting arms of Surf, but he's just for the moment sitting back, trying to work the angle and hope that one of the members of Synthetic give themselves up, but they know that they don't have to. They can send out the smoke grenades, they can sit in their positions, they can let Vladder do whatever the hell he wants, and it'll probably work out. Na as well will add on to the kills of the rest of his teammates, and the rest all join in the final dying seconds. Vladder, CZ get the final 2, and Synthetic move to match point. Basement so far has been the only site they've won, and if they win any of the others one more time, it will end this series 1-1.
My biggest question has got to be, how is Synthetic only able to win out these bottom floors on their defense? How are Honor struggling this much to really put the pressure on to the bottom floor? The rest of their pushes, like we've seen, they've been driving. They've been driving very, very hard with. They've been able to cut off roamers. They've been able to deal with these positions, whatever Synthetic has in store for them, very easily, very comfortably, and doing so in a way that doesn't really impact them that much towards the late round, even though there is a fair amount of cost applied to it. But we are going to see this gym bedroom, probably because Synthetic, they didn't feel comfortable at all, especially in how it defended on that CCTV. However, gym bedroom didn't go much better. We yet again saw Nart in that 1 versus 3 trying to bring it back, but you can't rely on this one key player every single time. It's like I said with Vlada, you can't rely on Vlada to be doing a lot of the legwork, which granted Nart has definitely picked up and Rice is helping with when it comes to frags, but you can't rely on one key player. Synthetic, realistically, in my eyes, they're going to have to go for another rotation before we do go to that bottom floor again. And if that is the case, well, then we're going to have overtime. At that point, my question is, how well is Synthetic going to play it? Will they be going for that bottom floor? If they get defense, they only get bottom floor once, realistically. So they better make sure that they step up the other defensive side. That's how I'm going to see it. But Synthetic, right now, gym bedroom, they're bringing a clash on the board to try and slow down Honor, but that's not really going to stop them, in my opinion. These walls are going to get open, these roamers are going to be dealt with in a similar fashion to what we saw before. There shouldn't be much adaptation, aside from Bladder going down to do it to try and get a cheeky kill. But you're only going to get one. You need to pull back as soon as you get that one kill, because if you don't, well, you're literally a sitting duck. Now, Bladder wants to get this kill, doesn't know about the position of Surf, and because of that, will potentially be exposing themselves to that kill later. But Surf, does Surf know? No, I don't think he does. So he's just going to be holding that position. Vlada, they're going to be so close, but yet so far away as we see this round start to play out. But the pre-fire will come out as it is noticed by Honor, and Vlada still is getting quite comfortable on this position once this kill is hungry for it. You can tell is waiting for the peak, but is going to take some damage. And right now, that's when you need to pull back. You can't play that position anymore. You've taken damage. You're lucky to be alive, but it's going to be Surf who finds that first kill, going on the bottom floor and just saying, we're going to deal with this. We're not going to let you get away with it. And suddenly, Synthetic, they've lost that player with 2 minutes off the board. That breach onto Jacuzzi will be opened up, and Honor looking comfortable yet again, but they do need to deal with this clash.
Yeah, Vlada was really testing his luck there, and for much too long in terms of what Honor had in to counter him. Not just the pre-fire, which Vlada thankfully managed to survive. That was easy for Surf to go and take him down on the, or I guess on the flank watcher, not even pincering him out. Surf went down by himself, and Vlada wasn't able to compete because he didn't predict anybody to come after him. So a bit of hubris on the part of the Malusian coming out from Vlada. I don't know what we all expected. Hubris is probably his middle name. In terms of that clash, you're right. Not doing all that much yet. Just sitting inside a bathroom, going for the impact trick. Once he hears that exothermic goes out, he'll send one over the wall, and it will find it. But a grenade sails in soon after, and he just manages to hide in the shower stall and not get felled. He'll now take his shield out. This might just be what Synthetic were waiting for, trying to waste time and deny that wall being opened, and then once the job is done, or Poison is just allowed and given permission to, he'll take out that shield and begin to waste time in the final 40 to 30 seconds. It's still a hard spot, certainly, with those 2 frag grenades being taken off the board by Oreo. Not much can be done overall to try and take him down unless they manage to go for the pinch. Surf will be spotted, almost find the kill on Dadan. In fact, will manage to confirm, despite the intel being given by Poison. CZ gets a refrag, takes the head off of Wolfseas, but Honor is still firmly in the driver's seat, unless CZ has something to say about it. Surf as well, putting up his own argument. Now it's moved down to a 2v2, but the health favoring Synthetic, and the time as well. But CZ looks away at the wrong moment. No more smoke grenades, and the angle's not favoring him. He's not able to deny the plant coming down from Surf. He flicks and finds the head, goes for the shotgun. Can he finish him off? Yes, he can! CZ with a quad on the round, nets Synthetic the match point, ending at 7-4 and ending the series 1-1. You can thank the French-Canadian for that one.
It's easy. I don't really know what to say after that, Lynx. That was incredibly played by the smoke and by the clash from Poison. Now, Poison's been struggling to find those kills quite a bit, but has just been doing a lot of the support legwork that you need from that player. been getting that clash, been getting the impact trick, stopping that breach, for funneling the players into CZ or funneling them into your Jaeger. Now, you lost your Jaeger, but the clash was there to also put the pressure on. Realistically, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at CZ just picking apart these players very, very nicely. I'm kind of taken aback at how this goes. But Synthetic, a very nice round one from them. And honestly, if there was a time to really step up and win one of the other sites, well, Lynx, that was definitely it. They will be able to win 7-4 on Clubhouse. Consulate was 8-6 in favor of Honor, so they will both be picking up... Well, no, actually, they won't be both picking up 3 rounds. I'm still getting used to best of 2s in groups. It's a whole new thing for me. I'm tired, okay, Lynx? Honor will be picking up 2 points, and Synthetic will be picking up 3 now. So realistically, a win-win for both teams. Honor will cement that lead at the top place of the Group B at the moment, but Synthetic, well, they're going to put themselves ahead of PDHM. They're going to look very, very comfortable moving forward. You can't blame them for looking at this and saying, well, we've still won and we've given a really good showing for ourselves. When you just look at the highlights that come out here, Service trying to put the pressure on now, but CZ is just unkillable in that position. The coordination of Synthetic on the defense really doing bits on that bottom floor and on that gym bedroom in the last round.
Yeah, and I mean, I would even argue this isn't a win-win for both teams. I mean, Honor, they got points. Sure, they got 2. That's cool. This is definitely a win for Synthetic, at least in my opinion. I mean, you're going into this, ignoring the sub situation. If you have your full 5 roster that Synthetic qualified with, this is a game you're expecting to lose. You might get 1 point in overtime, but winning out both maps, even on what might be a strong map for you, it's still not something that, is a sure bet. You're not expecting to go 1-1. You're just trying to make, as many plays as you can and maybe garner yourself 1 or 2 points. Winning a map and getting more points than Honor did, this is unquestionably a win. Winning it with 2 subs is just bragging rights at that point. And you saw how close they came to winning map 1 thanks to the effort put in by Vladder. If a couple more rounds go their way, it might be all 6 points going the way of Synthetic, or at the very least, the lion's share. Now, they still come away with the majority, and that much is certain. So at the end of the day, Consulate aside, Synthetic are definitely the winners in my mind in terms of both the points and in terms of bragging rights. But if you want to look at the stats real quick, we can get those up in just a sec, so we can see not only how Clubhouse went down and how it looked numerically and mathematically, and also see how the match as a whole went down. One of the players I want to see is how Vladder fared, because Vladder map 1, we all know what that was, but Vladder map 2, much more quiet, not just comparatively, but overall in general. So gonna see. Honestly, looking at him, that's going to be one of the things I want to look at most, just for pure curiosity's sake.
Yeah, looking at the stats, realistically in our first map, really stepping up and just performing out of their mind, but breaking even in this, getting that 1.0 rating, still coming out from Synthetic, still being the only player to get it, still being the only player on Synthetic to get it on both maps. There we go, that's the word I need to pick. Really good use on the entry, a nice amount of cost for an entry fragment to really bring onto the board. But the rest of the team, they've really stepped up, and this is something I paid attention to on Consulate, was Vladder did a lot of the legwork. You need the rest of the team to step up, and I don't think Vladder's particular contribution was a sign of slowing down, but the rest of the team catching up to them, being able to find kills. You can see Nah going with 3-2 on that entry, Rice being able to find one as well. Huge cost performance coming out from Rice as well, bringing that Ash Jaeger, just stepping up in another way. But let's take a look at Honor as well. You've got to look at that. You're looking at still a strong performance from them, but not as strong as you'd want to be from the top in your group. You've just been beaten out by Synthetic on one of the more typical maps that every team in your group is going to be comfortable playing. But Wolfseas, you have to give a lot of credit to. That was their game completely. You found 11 and 8. You definitely stalled out towards the end, because that's when I think you got your 11th kill towards the first round of that switch. But realistically, Synthetic, it's all win for them. It's all dubs. And when you look at the stats combined, well, I think it just says it all. The facts don't lie.
Most certainly. Vladder obviously having a standout performance, but overall, especially on map 2, pretty much everyone on the side of Synthetic stepped up. Pretty much everyone, 4/5 were above a 1.0 rating, and that is the tale for how they won Clubhouse. Not just winning it, but winning it at the margin that they did, 7-4. On the side of Honor, the stats aren't terrible, all things considered. 1.11, 1.09, 1.05. I have seen worse stat lines from victories, but they took a backseat on Clubhouse. Players like Arrow, players like Oreo, players like Surf especially, Oreo and Surf, two of the big standout performers on Honor from map 1, in sort of the bottom area of their team. It was Wolfsies, the only consistent performer to do fairly well on both maps. And that shows Honor a lot of their members took the back seat. And at that same moment, members on Synthetic took some of the weight that Vladder was bearing on map 1 and started bearing it themselves. And that's the tail for that. That is how Synthetic won Clubhouse. And again, just to reiterate the point I made earlier, this is an absolute win for them. Yeah. Winning out one of your maps with 2 subs and almost winning out the first one, that's a morale booster, all things considered. But that's enough for us here at SCS. That's our final game for the night. We will not be having an interview because it was a tie. We're not going to interview both teams. So thank you very much for watching. I have been Lynx, joined with McCready, and we'll see you tomorrow for some more fun games. Be back later. I don't know how to end that one. Good night.
A triple kill, but Soda Finn, he'll deny the plant. He sees super kills. Oh my god! Soda Finn will find more!
Where's Miracle? He's trying to come upstairs, but Crafty will get the ace. He'll get the plant. He'll do it all.
Device, misses shots. He's gonna have to go for the front.
Oh,
He pushes
Dylan!
on through. Dylan is better.
Round 2, and there's another as Tyrant is finished off, and they all line up for Bone.